the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David SMOAK and Craig SMOAK.
What an evening it was in Morgantown, West Virginia. I got to tell you, I know that like others that Joey Foster may have goosebumps. I do. Just listening to that. It's a great song anyway. And they sang it in harmony. Craig SMOAK is West Virginia, along with KU, will be heading to the Super Regionals after their win last night. The Mountaineers get it done.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day. Appreciate you being along for the ride with us. And, yeah, that was an epic scene last night in Morgantown. The best song rendition I've heard in quite some time in college sports, and just one of the cooler kind of chill moments that I've seen in quite a while as well. I mean, you get a lot of those when you're a college sports fan. It's a lot of the cool traditions, although it seems like as of late that sort of almost takes a back seat to a lot of the nonsense, but moments like last night are the kind that bring you back and remind you of why you love all this to begin with, and remind you of just the cool traditions and really cool schools and fan bases that are out there. And West Virginia, certainly the talk of a lot of sports last night in particular because of that. And also, yeah, the fact that they are going to be hosting a super regional, which is just incredible news, a great thing to have to look forward to. And congratulations to the Mountaineers. Been a fun 24 hours. Been fun, more fun than that, but especially these last 24 hours soaking in that win, advancing, and then going viral for having your fan base profess their love for their state and for their university.
No question about it. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you might be. David SMOAK and Craig SMOAK, we appreciate your time. Rez and Garrett, Andrew, Logan, and also Houston, who help put everything up, and also what you see every day. Thanks for your time in the chat room if you're there, and we hope to bring you one heck of a show. We got a lot of guests today, including Blake Topmeyer will start us off from USA Today at 3:40. Here is what the Super Regionals will look like with West Virginia winning last night. Here are the matchups in the next round. West Virginia will move into Cal Poly. Will play Cal Poly. You have Troy. And obviously, what really is pretty cool about this is there's a nugget about some of the teams that are left in this, but Troy will also play Little Rock. You have North Carolina, USC, who are red hot in College Station, Ole Miss Auburn, Oklahoma KU, Alabama, St. John's, Texas, Oregon, and Georgia, and Mississippi State.
Yeah, I mean, cool to see some not so usual suspects necessarily. It's not all the biggest brands, and that too is part of what makes college sports special, although many will argue that. But it's cool to see just a couple of wild cards, a couple of programs that you don't anticipate will be playing for a national championship, but they got their crack at it, and that's all you can ask for. So, yeah, Morgantown's going to be buzzing. Troy, Alabama will be buzzing. A lot of SEC representation, obviously, but just kind of going over these. Yeah, I think Morgantown ought to be a hell of a show. Southern Cal and North Carolina ought to be a hell of a matchup. Ole Miss and Auburn, I mean, tons of familiarity there. Same with Georgia and Mississippi State. So a couple of all SEC matchups. Texas, Oregon, a battle of huge brands. And I think kind of like a lot of similarities between those teams, like those schools, not in I don't know, just like kind of cool brands, I guess, if that makes sense. And I think kind of just laid back vibes of Austin kind of match the Northwest a little bit, but I think those crowds will mingle quite well. So that'll be a good one. Alabama, St. John's, again, I said it yesterday, but what an athletics year for St. John's. And then Oklahoma, Kansas ought to be just the best kind of nasty. I mean, those two programs know each other very well, don't see each other as much these days, but we'll get to see each other with a trip to Omaha on the line. That's pretty damn cool. So Kansas was one of my favorite things I saw this past weekend, watching a couple of their games, just seeing how into it the crowd was and how thirsty they were for baseball success and the road that it took them to get here. So awesome that they get to host a super regional. Even better, they get to welcome in Oklahoma, because, those Sooners fans are going to travel with being close proximity and just the passion they have. So, yeah, love it. Love the field. Love just all the little wrinkles it has, and look very much forward to being able to start devouring these games beginning on Friday.
By the way, a note from those 16 teams from Mitch Sherman, who, of course, covers Nebraska for theathletic.com. Next weekend, Cal Poly or West Virginia are going to play Little Rock or Troy in an opening round of the College Baseball World Series. None of those four have ever been there. One of those four teams is going to win a game in Omaha, Nebraska at the College Baseball World Series. Great note from Mitch Sherman.
That's what I was kind of saying a second ago is I know not everybody's on board, and made that very clear with their playoff leanings and their March Madness leanings on. I need to see the biggest brands and this and that, but I think college sports, part of what makes it great and what makes it college sports in a lot of ways is having a Little Rock, a Troy, a Cal Poly have an opportunity. They may not ever win it. That's fine, but at least they have an opportunity. It's not all just blue bloods or wannabe blue bloods. And so I think that's awesome that this is going to occur. And I don't think it waters down the tournament or affects it in any type of a negative way, unless you just want to go to talk TV ratings or something, which I don't give an S about. So yeah, I think this is going to be great to see these programs with a crack. And look, West Virginia's are going to be a really tough out, emotional, fun, crazy win over Kentucky. But yeah, Cal Poly, West Virginia, Little Rock, Troy, really cool to spotlight, not so much for West Virginia, but for those other three. And look, California schools have had their history in the College World Series, right? A lot of success over the years, but yeah, this just feels like March Madness, but it's in its own unique way. So I'm looking forward to it. And those games last night, I mean, could have been a whole lot more SEC teams in there. I mean, you had A&M going down.
Yep.
To USC in College Station, and not even close, 7-1. I mean, West Virginia obviously edges out Kentucky in extra innings, highly emotional, supercharged game there. And Kentucky bows out Florida, losing to Troy, obviously, so Troy advances there. And then, yeah, you had Florida State, as we talked about on the show yesterday, Milwaukee, who would have been another one of those sort of underdog Cinderellas, but Auburn knocked them out. And then Georgia Tech getting eliminated by Oklahoma in what was also a really fun and exciting and very offensive-heavy game as well. So, I love this time of year.
I turned that game. I kind of turned away from that Georgia Tech-Oklahoma game. I think it got pretty separated there for a little bit with Georgia Tech. And honestly, I was going through a graphic to put up for today's show, putting in the super regionals, watching that USC got red hot at just the right time against A&M. And I was like, oh, damn. I didn't even realize Georgia Tech had won. I mean, Oklahoma had come back to win that till I saw the walk-off home run. And so a nice comeback for the Sooners, who really put the power show on in that specific regional in Atlanta.
Well, I mean, they scored a bunch late, just couple here, one there, over the course of the last 4 innings or so. But yeah, they were down, they were in a bit of a hole, and then just chipped away over the last 4 at bats, and eventually got that walk-off that you mentioned, just highly dramatic. Like, baseball is just a really cool sport when it comes to the drama. And then I think too, in college baseball, you really see with this part of the year, the uniqueness of the fan bases. And in baseball stadiums, like in football, it's just so massive a lot of the time. Like, you get glimpses of it. In basketball, I think it kind of just sort of depends. But in baseball, you see like Mississippi State set up and how crazy it is with all the barbecue pits and some of the
Southern hospitality.
It's like the fan setups. And I know Texas has made a lot of strides in that regard here of late. But there's just there's a really cool uniqueness to college baseball and the fandoms and their celebrations and just how it comes across on TV and especially in person. That just makes it really, really cool. It's not sustainable for the entire year, start to finish. I think baseball is just not built for short attention spans these days. But when you get down into like highly dramatic, high pressure, winner go home situations, I think baseball is right up there with like anything, like every ball, every pitch, every strike, and then the clink of the bat that can walk it off and send you to the super regionals. Like it's just high drama, and it's the best kind for a sports fan.
To me, in one, we're seeing more games. It was always televised, and obviously the College World Series televised by ESPN going back forever, but you can watch every game. And I have YouTube TV, and I was able to just kind of go boom, 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 go back and forth. There's the split screen, whatever, multi-view. And the great stories, you see Cinderella lives in this what is a 64-team tournament and who are still there. West Virginia's been to 17 NCAA tournaments, but this is there, as we mentioned, along with Cal Poly and also with Troy. This is their first, and Little Rock, ever trip to the have a chance to get their first ever trip to Omaha. And then there is the College World Series softball edition in Oklahoma City. And my goodness, we have had a lot of discussion the last 8 to 10 days about Texas Tech and Texas playing again, but that's in football. They're going to start up a 3-game series, best of 3 tomorrow. Texas, defending champion for the last 5 years in the finals, and they're playing Texas Tech, 7 o'clock rematch of the championship a year ago. Then on game 2 will be Thursday, no matter what, Texas against Texas Tech, and if necessary, a game 3 in Oklahoma City on Friday with a 7 o'clock first pitch.
Yeah, it was speaking of high drama. I mean, softball comes with it as well, and had plenty of that yesterday. And had a text from my Texas Tech alum sister late at night, just going crazy for the win over Alabama to push them through to the national championship series. And it's weird because like a week or two ago, I was talking about Tech softball, and just didn't seem like they were being mentioned as much. And I think that was just probably because not a lot of people really pay close attention to it until you get down to like this time of year. And so now you're hearing a lot about it. And I think too, just kind of the novelty of Najee Kennedy making the money. Like that was last year. We sort of dwelled on that or sat on that and brought it up constantly just as media and as fan bases go. A lot of people making a big deal out of that, just not as much of a big deal this year. So maybe that's also why I didn't feel like I heard as much about it. But yeah, that was high drama and huge win for Texas Tech, and now a rematch that I'm sure they've been wanting all offseason. And you just hope that they can make it as competitive as possible and can, for Tech's sake, flip the result. And then for Texas, I mean, I don't think anybody's rolling in feeling better than they are. I think that they are playing really confident right now and had those kind of consistent game 1 series starting struggles, like this kind of just what happens with Mike White teams. But then you saw the stat of it was something crazy. Like they've lost like 7 consecutive game 1s and they advance still every time. And here they are. So it's like, it doesn't even matter. And they just been rolling since eating an early loss. And I think they're really confident. I think Tech's out for vengeance, obviously. And ought to be very heated, and I hope, like I said yesterday, that somehow people in charge can just work around a way to where we have Steve Sarkisian sitting next to Cody Campbell or something like that.
Get in the booth and have them analyze the game for an inning.
Yeah, I mean, let's see those guys. Let's see those guys come across each other, or Joey and Sark, or whatever. I'm sure they'll all be there in some capacity because why wouldn't you be? It's for a national title. This is what you spent all this money for. This is what you grinded and practiced and recruited and did all these things for. So, yeah, cool that we get a rematch. I just hope it's a really competitive and fun and exciting series. I know both fan bases are absolutely frothing at the mouth for a national title. And, I think this is going to be quite emotional and heated. Just don't know how competitive it'll be.
I do know this, that of the teams at the College World Series for softball, The least amount of transfers to any of those 6 teams was 6 for Mississippi State and Nebraska. Of course, they got the prize transfer a year ago with a young lady from Oklahoma, Jordy Ball. I know her name's changed. Ole Miss 7, Arkansas 8, Alabama 9. But these 4 schools had 10-plus transfers. UCLA, Tennessee, Texas, and Texas Tech. But it does seem that there's a little bit of a lean towards when Tech is playing, that is brought up a lot more. And, of course, the $1 million NIL from a year ago. It's time to also put everybody else in the same perspective that also has gone into the transfer portal.
Yeah, I don't really care about any of that. I don't really care to hear about the money being spent, or like this team doesn't do it the right way, or like, yeah, I mean, everybody's doing it. There's no rules against anything that's being done. Texas Tech's following the rules. They're getting talent the way everybody else is allowed to get talent. It does seem like there's a weird double standard with them versus most other programs. It's crazy how if you were to bring up the fact that Texas spends tons of money, or that Michigan spends tons and tons of money, everybody just accepts that and just goes along, and they don't even blink at you because it's like, yeah, of course. But you bring up Texas Tech and people like, it's I can't believe, like, it's just very bizarre. And I guess that's one of those, I guess you're not allowed in the country club types of sentiments, or you don't feel that they belong. But I do see that with them particularly, and I don't see anybody knocking Texas for having a number of transfers. So it's a stupid double standard. I'm really kind of over anybody complaining about any team in any sport with any number of transfers. We got basketball teams like Illinois trying to do the all-Europe all-star teams, and we've got obviously coaches who are bringing in former NBA, G League guys and all of that. And in every sport, it's just kind of messy, but everybody's got the same opportunities to go and get the same players. And I don't think there's like morally any right or wrong in doing it. And I think it's just a stupid double standard to knock Tech for that. As an Alabama fan, because there was a lot of sour grapes last night, as you can imagine, seeing as they were on the receiving end of that loss. But did they turn around and say that same thing when they played Texas? Like, yeah, it's dumb. So, hey, it is what it is. Haters going to hate, and you're playing for a national title, and now you need to finish the job. I mean, especially in light of the stuff that just happened recently. I know it's football, it's a different sport, but that's still Tech and Texas. And I think if Texas beats them, that's a missed opportunity for Tech to kind of throw their weight around and say, like, no, we are a program, an athletics program that is on par and can hold our own weight. And I think they've proven that by getting to this point for 2 years in a row. But ultimately, the trash talk doesn't mean as much if you don't win, right? Like, if it's the same winner every time, then it loses its power to a degree. So I think Texas Tech, if they can beat Texas, that'd be a monumental victory for a variety of reasons, and would just add further spice to that very fun and entertaining back and forth between Tech and Texas. We got a dose of last week.
UT's the favorite, defending champions. What they've done, come off the mat. We mentioned that a lot yesterday, to beat the team that beat them early twice, to offset a no-hitter through 5 and win the game against Nebraska in the Player of the Year. They're on a great run. Tech has gone through they won 3 games in 24 hours. Think about that.
Yeah, and Kennedy was, worth every penny. And they grinded to get back here. It certainly wasn't a given that they would be back here, but they played their asses off. Had to just grind again. That's I guess the best word to use. And hats off to those ladies for getting back to this point and just going through a gamut to get here. So hopefully they can rest up and get some Gatorades and all that and be at 100%, because I think Texas had a bit of a less stressful time getting back. But looking forward to what is hopefully a hell of a series.
What's interesting is that, and I want to say this because there's so much going on, because Tech has gone to a different level in a few ways with what they did in football. First time in 70 years they won an outright conference title. I believe that's correct. Then you have what they're doing in softball, back-to-back trips to the championship. But one of the things I would just suggest this to Tech fans, you are, I hope, enjoying all this, but also I don't I think there needs to be a little bit of a cool your jets on being overly sensitive about everything that's being said when it comes to there's this about the NIL or this about this and the trend. Just enjoy it. You're being talked about and use that as a positive rather than any kind of like, why are they picking on us? Enjoy it, because if you're going to be at the top and you're going to be competing to play at the top, then that comes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to preach to Tech fans on how to act or react or enjoy or whatever. I know you just did, but I'm not going to do that. I mean, I understand that you want to defend your program on Twitter or whatever. I think it's pointless. I don't think it ultimately does any good, but I'm not going to tell people how to live their lives, especially when it's something as pointless as fan reactions to sports news. So in that regard, yeah, I understand where you're coming from and your sentiment there, but I mean, the last thing a Tech fan's going to do is not talk a bunch of shit back and forth with Texas fans or not defend their program, especially when Alabama's complaining about how they use their pitchers. And now that they've lost, that should be against the rules. And Alabama's complaining about Tech spending money because Lord knows Alabama's never spent money to win championships, right?
Well, the money that was handed underneath the table doesn't count.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, no, there's always an asterisk when it's other teams from, not your inner circle or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff I think needs to be checked sometimes. Now, does it ultimately do any good? Probably not. But I think that's why you have your burners for like every fan base that are there to kind of police things and check people. So you see a lot of people running off at the mouth about them spending NIL, and you're like, you're Alabama fans. Like, who the hell are you to talk to us about spending money? Or you're Texas fans. Who the hell are you to talk to us about spending money? I do think there's overly sensitive people, but they're in every fan base. So, yeah, I'm not going to police anybody. I do think that the best advice I give is, yes, spend less time on social media worrying about what people think about how you got there and enjoy the ride. I will agree with that part of it, but I'm not going to ever dabble myself. I think burners and all that stuff, it's for the birds, man. I don't care, but I understand the entertainment value and also kind of the defense that is for your program to have some people stick up for you. So yeah, if you don't want to see it, then just get off Twitter.
All right. So there is that. And then I saw this earlier today. Former Angels and Orioles outfielder Jordan Adams, Billy Embody had this story, is going to enroll at SMU. He has been in baseball for 8 years. The 5 years to play 5, that right there would kill this. And then I even saw, in one of you that watches the show, and like, what are they doing? Chris Wanke, Josh Booty, Quan Cosby. Those are just some of the names in college football that played baseball at some particular level, whether very long or not, and they ended up being really good college football players too. This is not new. 8 years, that's a long time, but this is not new that a player has gone to baseball because they're a great talent and then eventually said, okay, enough of this. I'm going to go try to regain and see what my eligibility is in football. But this could be tested if it does go to 5 for 5.
Yeah, it would be. And I think that's more reason why 5 for 5 is needed. I understand there's some complaints about that. I mean, there's people that will take issue. Look, nothing's going to be 100% agreed on. Anything that's proposed, anything that anybody wants to instill as rules, like there's always going to be some pushback. So I probably don't even need to acknowledge anymore. Like, well, everybody's not going to be on board. So let's just skip past that part. I am for 5 for 5. I don't want to see lawsuits for 7th years. I don't want to see 8th years, 9th years, as we've seen. I totally empathetic to injuries and how those can derail careers. And I do think there needs to be more talked about as far as that goes. But you're also sitting there and you're kind of you're massaging the rules in a certain way to benefit like what percentage of athletes versus how much you're damaging future athletes by having people hang around. So there's like that sort of dilemma. So I want to be sympathetic to that and not just run people in like an assembly line and then not care for them along the way. But yeah, also the hanging around or people who have 3-4 season-ending injuries is like, maybe that's just a sign from God that you aren't meant to, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm kind of torn in a way, but ultimately I land on 5 for 5 would be great. 5 for 5 would stamp a lot of this other nonsense out, but you're absolutely correct. This is not new in any way. Baseball players coming back to college in their mid to late 20s to play college football. And yeah, we watched Chris Wanke win a national championship.
Yep.
you've also had guys that were like Ricky Williams that was double dipping there for a while. He's like playing during the summertime, right? And then would be playing football in the fall. So, yeah, I think this is probably just more a reactionary thing because we see what's happening in basketball now. And that makes you just really kind of grossed out, depending on who you are, about the coming and goings now of older professional players. But this isn't new, as you said. So, yeah, if you don't like it, then I think you're probably in favor of the 5 for 5. But I don't love it, but I understand it, and it's well within the rules. So I would prefer to not have people in their late 20s in college sports. I'm more worried, though, less about the age and more about the hanging around for 7 years. I'm much more bothered by that.
This, to me, is 100% different than if a guy is a tight end in his 8th and 9th year when he was at McCormick at Miami. That's overkill. This here is a young man that decided to go play Major League Baseball because he could, and he did. And then his baseball career is winding down, and so he still has the ability to play college football. Not a lot that can do this, but he's going to try it, and SMU's going to pick up a player that's also a former blue-chip player when he was in high school.
Yeah, and then also I think the 5 for 5, the part about the eligibility clock starts at age 19. So you've got the 5 years. So then, yeah, that would also cease some of this. But yeah, I don't have as much of an issue with this as I do just the idea in general of guys going to play quote unquote pro ball and then coming back. I'm much more worried about people hanging around for multiple years past their expiration date for one reason or another. So we'll see. I mean, eligibility is clearly one of those big offseason topics, and it seems like one that's going to be addressed sooner rather than later. So will this be the last example of its kind, or is this going to be just the latest example of its kind? It remains to be seen, but I'll be curious to see what he does. SMU's a really good program. Rhett Lashley's a great coach and talent identifier. I think it's interesting to be 26 years old. Like, athletically, you're still very much in your prime, but are you ready to run around with 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds who have been playing football for the last 6-7 years? I'm sure that's going to be a bit of an adjustment, but be curious to check back in on him in a few months and see what Jordan Adams is up to.
All right, here's a note about a young man that got in the NFL draft and decided to withdraw. Iowa State, of course, has had attrition in many ways in various sports, but Milan Momcilovic is – we knew he withdrew from the NBA draft. He now has committed to play at Kentucky. Evan Sittery is reporting that Momcilovic got a $6.5 million NIL deal. Louisville and Arizona were also very much in play. He would have been most likely a second-round pick, withdraws his name, and I hate that it's not going to go back to Iowa State. Kentucky will get him.
I don't think anybody at Iowa State was ever under the impression he was coming back after he declared. I think the thought was always that if he leaves for the NBA, then no matter what his choice ultimately is, whether it's sticking around the draft or coming back to college, he's going to go play the transfer portal and go get a bag. And clearly he did. $6+ million from Kentucky. Man, did you see the picture of Mark Pope on the beach with like all these cryptic things apparently that were going around?
No, but I did know this. Mark Pope might have been thrown into the ocean had he not come up with someone like him, because they are trying to make up for a disastrous year with their standards at Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, he's very much a guy, I think, that enters the year on the hot seat, and the fans are very unique in their passion and all of that. And I think that, yeah, they needed something They needed something like Momcilovic to get excited about, and I think you can tell by their reaction they are pretty excited. But yeah, Mark Pope was like on a beach, and he had like playing cards in one hand, and they were like a king and a queen or some crap like that. And then he had like, I don't know, it's just like this whole setup on the beach with playing cards and like this and that. And I saw some Kentucky beat writer that was like, he posted this and like 50 Cent's Many Men was playing. I was just like, you're too old for this.
Yeah.
Like, you're too old
I'm
for
doing
this
that
stuff,
this
man.
week
Like,
when I go to the beach in Florida.
I mean, it's just like, I get it, dude, but I just, it's just too much for me. It's too cryptic and too meta, or whatever the proper word for it is. I'm sure Kentucky fans gobble up the hidden clues or whatever message he's trying to send. But I was just like, man, I'm too old for this. You're sure as hell too damn old for this. I can only imagine the arrangement as you're, all right, now hold the king and the queen or whatever. And that's the people that know that's going to be. So if you're in on it, I'm sure it's great. But from the outside looking in, I was like, that's kind of corny, but it's a great get for the Wildcats, and their fan base certainly very excited based on what I could tell.
Here is the cover of the EA Sports College Football 2027 with Kewan Lacey, Malachi Tony, and Dante Moore on the cover. The cover athletes are officially here. EA Sports released that earlier in the day.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one better than the other one.
All right, here's the other one. This is the other one you're talking about. Is this the?
Yes, this one.
This one here, which is the deluxe edition. I think I don't know what the wording for this one is, but there's the other one that looks like a bunch of confetti on the ground.
It's National Lampoon's College Football Vacation is what that looks like. It looks like a poster from 80s comedies. I saw somebody else point that out, or like 90s comedies, the type of movie cover, movie poster that you would see. And I can't not see it once somebody pointed that out. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. I understand the idea is like, let's fit as many players and faces and known players and brands as we can. But I don't love this cover. It's very busy. It very much, once I saw the comment from whoever it was about, like, this looks like some frat movie from the 90s or early 2000s.
Looks like broken glass to me or something, like a broken glass with the colored glass that's broken.
Where?
Well, Craig, do you not see a lot of colors, and it's broken? There's even chips and stuff on the floor.
I mean, I don't see broken glass. I see a lot of colors.
I'm not saying it's. I'm saying, to me, when I first look at it, it looks like a color, like one of those windows you see in a church with all those beautiful colors that was cracked for whatever reason because there's so much going on at one time.
Talking about stained glass.
Yes.
That's a big difference from broken glass. So stained glass I can see. Yeah, broken glass I didn't know where you're coming from.
Broken stained glass.
Yeah, so that's a very colorful, cool cover. As far as fitting a lot of it in, I don't love this one, but I do like the other one quite a bit. But yeah, this is all right. A busy cover for sure.
Jordan Maeva, the quarterback, USC left side. Then you have Dante Moore. Then Colin Simmons, right behind Moore. Then Signetti, Tony, and C.J. Carr off to the right.
Yeah, that's Jade Maeva, not Jordan Maeva. No. I think you said Jordan there. But pretty cool to see that we've got a video game and now everybody's just sort of used to it, and it's just back in the mix, and we just have it nowadays, whereas there for a while you didn't have it at all. And so it's cool. It's definitely feels like the fanfare died down after that first release, and then last year it didn't seem like it was nearly the same kind of reaction. And I know Matt Brown was all over that one again. I haven't seen or paid much attention to what's been going on with this version here lately, because I think a lot of just the initial enthusiasm and excitement died down, but not for the folks who play it religiously. And I come across some of those sometimes of people that absolutely, they're like on their 20th year as a head coach with 15 national championships and this, that, and the other. So I'm sure a lot of people are excited about the new version coming out. And I don't know, like this just, again, it seems like a wonky movie poster, especially with the way Signetti's positioned. Like he's the head football coach of some wild ass team, and it's like all sorts of hijinks and craziness. He looks like he's the stern but goofy head coach that's gonna lead them to a championship somehow or another, despite all the odds. So
despite all the odds, if you have those guys, you're going to win.
But this looks like, you didn't have a team like this on 80s movie covers. No, you would have the Bad News Bears-esque team or the Little Giants or whatever from the last few decades. So it's unique. I like the other one better though, just aesthetically, but cool for the folks who love the game, and we'll see how good this 27 version is. All
right, I saw this, and this has kind of just caught my attention. MAC Commissioner, Mid-American Conference Commissioner John Steinbrecher, unloading on the Power Four, Brett McMurphy, with this. If you look up the term ungovernable, I am convinced a handful of conference logos pop up, and they're all autonomy logos. I am tired of listening to the complaints of the autonomy conferences who believe they know the best way to run the organization. And then with this quote as well, I'm not sure if the right response to all of this is be careful what you ask for because you may get it. Or B, karma is a bitch. because we're now living with what happens when autonomy conferences make the rules. And that's from John Steinbrecher, MAC commissioner.
Is everybody clutching their pearls the same way they did when Jamie Pollard said something similar? I sure as hell hope not. I saw a lot of the be careful what you wish for. And I found that humorous because I don't think that if you had plans to go and break away and start your own super whatever, that you were going to be making that decision based on what Iowa State's athletic director randomly said in an interview. So I thought a bunch was made out of that, as though Jamie Pollard was saying something, and the pearl clutching around that was absolutely ridiculous. So having said that, I mean, John Steinbrecher has even less to lose. So yeah, say what you want to say. The MAC's definitely not going to be included in some breakaway. If that happens, the only way they're included in anything is if everything stays status quo, or if there's some sort of what do you call it? In soccer, or the ability to move up and down. What's that? Any other time I'd remember that.
Relegate.
Yeah, relegation. If there was that, then yeah, sure, MAC teams would be involved, but beyond status quo, they won't be. So go ahead and pop off and say what you got to say. And who's going to say that he's wrong? I mean, here we are, and there's another initiative to try to save college sports or whatever. And guess what? SEC doesn't want to sign it. Big Ten doesn't want to sign it. And look, if they've got valid reasons for not signing it, which I'm sure they do, then that's understandable. I'm not telling anybody to go sign their life away, but it does seem like every time somebody tries to come up with a solution, there's always an issue with it as to why we can't do that. Oh, well, that would cost too much this, or we're not going to share that, or that's not for this, or that can't be that way, or there's always a reason to not change it dramatically. And I think you do have to be careful with dramatic change. But yeah, if I'm in the MAC, I'm saying F you guys. We're screwed either way, so nothing's changing. Let's just call a spade and say that, yeah, you're a bunch of leaders and universities and programs that say one thing and do another constantly. And you want rules, but you don't want to follow them. And I think he's dead on with that sentiment and just that idea in general. But yeah, he has nothing to lose. So go for it and say what everybody else is already thinking anyways.
Blake Topmeyer, USA Today. Shahan Jararaja from CBS Sports. We'll have Ari Wasserman on 3. And today, Andrew Caridi, voice of West Virginia baseball, plus Craig's Off the Radar. All of that and more, that's coming up. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. QC Kinetics. You have pain in your knees, shoulders, your hip or back that won't go away. Do you have to brace yourself if you're walking down just a small set of stairs or getting out of bed in the morning? QC Kinetics can help you take care of that pain. It won't last long. It will be done. You will get relief. No surgery, no drugs, or any downtime. I used to get out of bed and immediately my right hip had a pull. I used to walk down the stairs and every once in a while, well, inside the condo and right outside the condo. And I sometimes had to make sure I was holding on to the stairwell, because if I would have had a moment where my leg was weak, it would have not ended very well. If you can't raise your arms, you cannot climb the stairs, you can't kneel down without some help, QC Kinetics can help you out. It is using plate-like rich plasma, stem cells inside your own body, your natural biologics inside your body, to put it back inside your body after they take it out, spin it, and I'm telling you right now, it works. Free consultation, locations in Houston and Dallas. QC Kinetics can help you by taking your own blood and spinning it and then putting it back where you need the help, where you've had the pain. Natural substances from your own body. Think about that. Here are the numbers in Dallas and Houston. I started using this first treatment back in September. I have an extra treatment. I have not used it because it's working. And it is nice to not have to worry about it every day. Playing golf, I now jog. I jog a mile or two every day. Every day. Used to not be able to get even 15 steps in before I would shut it down. 972-972-8610 in Dallas, 972-972-8610. And in Houston, 713-913-5285. Get your body fixed. Get rid of that annoying pain that won't go away no matter the injections you've had. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. It's kicking the can down the road. And now the chatter is about surgery or procedure. First contact, free consultation, QCkinetics.com.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
At Allen Samuels Jeep in Waco, get a 2026 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $32,990. Or take $10,000 off a 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee Summit.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Extreme Texas weather calls for Ray Broker, your Lennox Premier dealer. Sign up for our year-round comfort plan and keep your home the perfect temperature no matter what the forecast is. Call or visit raybroker.com now. Ray Broker, your air conditioning and heating specialist.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
Blake Topmeyer, USA Today, and I started to read a lot of what Blake had, not only from his Twitter feed, but also USA Today. Have really enjoyed it. He's the one last week that had a little back and forth with Greg Sankey about the SEC and the Big Ten that had caught them and won the titles, and it was really well done. He joins us now with Craig and David Smoke on 365 Sports. Blake, I love that. That was a nice deal. Was Sankey trying to maybe not like backed you down at that particular moment? Because I thought it played out well for you.
Well, I think it's a case of Rhetoric 101, a course that Greg Sankey has aced. And Rhetoric 101 says if you do not like a question or you don't want to answer a question, challenge the question or challenge the questioner. We see this a lot in any form of rhetoric. And that's what Greg Sankey tried initially when I asked him why or how the Big Ten has surpassed the SEC in college football. Greg Sankey interrupted my question and asked what the metrics were behind my question. So he was challenging the question. Well, unfortunately for Sankey, in this case, the metrics behind my question were really quite obvious, which I pointed out. The Big Ten has won 3 straight national championships, and the Big Ten is 4-0 head-to-head against SEC teams in playoff games the last 3 years. So those are the metrics. Those are pretty obvious. And at that point, then, Sankey was forced to move on to Rhetoric 102, if you will, after his attempt at Rhetoric 101 failed.
A year ago, Blake, you wrote a story about Washington, the government, president, Congress, all of the above getting involved in college sports and saying, be careful what you wish for. And then, of course, we know tomorrow there's a hearing on the Cantwell and Cruz bill in Congress, or in the House, I guess, of Representatives. I've seen more and more of these be careful what you wish for. The hen you're going to get the hen in the house. What's that term?
Wolf in the hen
The
house.
wolf in the hen house, excuse me. And you're inviting the wolf into the hen house. Your thoughts about what the NCAA and college sports is trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, I've been advising caution against this for years. For years now, we've heard college sports leaders go up to Capitol Hill and say that the only solution to their problems is a bailout from Congress, for Congress to step in, wave the magic wand, and make all of its problems disappear. Well, in my opinion, if the only solution to your problems is the federal government, then you do not have a solution to your problems. But that is the path that the NCAA and college sports leaders have gone down. And now what it's finding is that it doesn't love every aspect of this 111 page bill that's come down from Senators Ted Cruz and Maria Cantwell. It is a bipartisan bill, and it is a whopper. And it would seek to insert the federal government into a number of aspects in college sports, anything from governing athlete eligibility to putting a cap on athlete compensation, to putting a percentage cap on athletes' agents' compensation, to attempting to prevent conference realignment, to suggesting pooling of media rights. It's 111 pages worth of involvement from the federal government. And now we've seen a couple of constituencies within college sports show a very tepid response, I would say, to this bill. Quite notably, the SEC, the Big Ten, and the NCAA, all three of those organizations have not supported this bill. They have not publicly endorsed this bill. Now, a number of other conferences, conference commissioners, university presidents have endorsed this bill. But again, the SEC, the Big Ten, and the NCAA have not publicly endorsed this bill. So there are at least some aspects of this bill that have a number of constituents feeling uncomfortable. But it's as you say, and it's as I've said, you invite the fox inside the hen house over the course of multiple years. Well, what you might end up with is the fox inside the hen house. And that's what we have here with this bill. Now, this bill obviously is not law yet. It's a bill, and still faces probably an uphill climb to becoming a law. But the door is cracked here. This bill will be introduced this week, and we'll see. I mean, we know this is an election year. Does that complicate things? Probably. It needs to get 60 votes in the Senate, which means it needs to get some level of bipartisan support in the Senate, and then it would move on to the House. President Trump has delivered some early indications that he would support this bill if it got to him. But yeah, we're still sort of in the early stages of this, but this is the furthest we've come at any point toward having some federal action.
So, Blake, it seems like the hangups for the holdouts is the media rights part in particular, or that's at least one of the big disagreements. What else is there potentially besides that? And that's obviously a big enough one on its own. And what do you think of the legislation that's proposed? I saw Cody Campbell saying, hey, this is the most well thought out, the most logical, this, that, the other. And obviously everybody has their own opinions on it. But what do you think are the bright spots and maybe not so bright spots of it? Media rights maybe being one of those.
Well, I have a hard time seeing very many bright spots at all, because my personal opinion is that the federal government should not be waist deep in solving the problems of college sports. So from where I sit, there's not a ton of upsides here. But what it would do, it would allow the NCAA to have some enforcement around its eligibility, a 5-year clock. It would limit athletes' ability to transfer. You'd have one-time transfer after that. You'd have to sit out a year. So I think a lot of people would see those as potential upsides. Those in the Cody Campbell camp would see the possibility of pooling media rights as an upside. That would be an upside for anybody in the ACC or the Big 12, because those leagues do not have media rights deals that are as rich as the deals in the Big 10 and the SEC. So, if you're not at the top of the revenue ladder, I think any opportunity to pool revenue rights would be seen as a plus. And I don't think you touched on why, the Big Ten and the SEC might be hesitant about some aspects of this bill, in particular, the pooling of media rights. But I think, as you consider the opinions of folks on Capitol Hill, I think this could encounter some pushback, in particular from Democrats, because I think what you're going to hear from certain Democrats is that this does a lot more for the universities and the NCAA than what it does for athlete rights. I mean, this would this would cap spending on schools' compensation for athletes. It would place caps on the earnings for athletes' agents. Shockingly, I know you guys will be shocked by this, there are no caps on the earnings for athletics directors, coaches, agents, conference commissioners. No caps on any of that. Just caps on what athletes could earn from the school and what their agents could earn. So I would expect this to encounter some pushback from Democrats who don't feel like that this bill goes far enough for athletes' rights. But to get 60 votes, I believe if my math is correct, you would need 7 Democrats to vote in favor of this bill. Right? There's I think there's 53 folks who vote with the Republicans, so you would need 7 Democrats, and this bill has was co-written by a Democrat and also has another Democratic sponsor. So you probably have 2 Democratic votes. Seemingly, can you get 5 more? I don't know.
It's funny, Blake. You point out kind of the funniness of who stands to benefit still at this, but like this is an evolution from the SCORE Act, which I felt was like just so wildly one-sided. It was like, we're going to take this back to 1965, and I can't believe we even had that go down the path that it did, but ultimately obviously got quashed. But man, that one in particular just felt so one-sided it was laughable. So I guess you're not going to have them not want what they want still, but a little bit more give and take, I guess, with this as far as that goes.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, I guess you got a Democratic senator to co-write this bill. But what's interesting? Remember all those arguments about like protect women's sports, protect Olympic sports. There's gonna be a hearing, as you guys mentioned, on this tomorrow morning. And unless this has changed in the last few hours up to us recording this. You know how many female athletes are going to be called to testify on Wednesday morning?
Let's say 0.
If I'm not mistaken, the number is 0.
Yeah.
So I think that tells you a lot right there.
So what are your thoughts about this back and forth, the struggle on the college football playoff, 12, 16, 24, back and forth, Big Ten, SEC, turf war? I kind of like it because I want to keep it at 12, but I understand it's going to grow, Blake. Your thoughts from where you are on all of it?
Well, first of all, I would say I agree with you. If they can't agree between 16 and 24, from where I sit, that works just fine because I think the 12-team playoff works. But where does it head? I think the Big Ten wields a little bit more power in these negotiations because the status quo is working for the Big Ten. It's a small sample size, to be sure. But in the 2 years of the 12-team playoff, the Big Ten has dominated the 12-team playoff and has produced the national champions 3 years in a row now, including the 2 years of the 12-team playoff. So the status quo works for the Big Ten. So that allows them to say 16, which they don't want, the Big Ten doesn't want. They say 16 is a non-starter for them, and so they can kind of flex a muscle and say, hey, you got 2 options here. We would like to expand to 24. And so you can choose that card, or you could stick with the status quo, which works for us. So I think that gives the Big Ten a little extra muscle in these negotiations. We know that the SEC sees it differently. They don't want 24; they want 16. But to get 16, they need to get the Big Ten to agree to 16. This thing can't expand without the SEC and the Big Ten agreeing on a number. And if they disagree on the number, that is a continuance of the status quo. We've already seen some fissures within the SEC ranks. It was really interesting in SEC spring meetings last week. Within the span of 1 hour, I heard from 3 different prominent SEC athletic directors who did a little press gaggle with reporters. It was one right after another. The first AD was from Alabama, Greg Byrne. Now, he's been in the camp favoring 16 teams and offered no indication that he'd moved on from that. So count Greg Byrne from Alabama still in the 16-team camp. Then we heard from Texas athletic director Chris Del Conte, very outspoken, fairly powerful athletic director. he said he's not so sure there's anything wrong with a 12-team playoff, and why should we be in such a rush to expand from 12? So you had sort of a tepid vote for just staying with the status quo and going to 12. Then we heard from Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland. Scott Strickland's opinion is bigger is better. He doesn't think a supersized playoff would detract from the regular season. I personally disagree with him on that, but that's the way Scott Strickland feels. And he indicated some openness to maybe going to 24 teams. So in the span of 60 minutes, 3 different athletic directors from the SEC offered 3 different opinions, which tells us the SEC is not as united as what the Big Ten appears to be. The Big Ten, at least from all appearances, is very united behind 24 teams. The SEC, its official party platform, remains 16 teams. But inside the party, there is some division in the ranks, and there are certain individuals, whether coaches, athletic directors, or university presidents, who do have interest in 24 teams. Now, will the party platform officially move toward 24? That we don't know. Right now, it remains at 16, and the debate continues, and it could continue, I think, for the next few months.
Yeah, the thing about going to 24 is just, it's going to be 32, 3 years after that. It's going to be 48, by 2040 or whatever. Let's hold out. Let's root for the holdout, and we just stay at 12 for a little while longer. On the topic of the SEC in particular, like clearly the Big Ten winning 3 titles in a row has sort of shifted the power dynamic, or at least perception. And now you hear all of these reports about the not disintegration, but kind of like the dissenting opinions, the differing opinions, as you kind of pointed out with just even the playoff itself. Is this unique to right now, or is this just kind of the SEC business as usual in general? Or is this them actually kind of like, man,
this is very unique. Normally the SEC, maybe behind closed doors, there's some disagreement, but this is very unusual for the SEC to have this level of public disagreement on a variety of topics. Usually the commissioner of the SEC, it's been Greg Sankey for a long time now, about a decade. Before that, Mike Slive. Historically, the commissioners of the SEC, at least these last 2, have been very effective at least publicly presenting a united front, and any dissension within the ranks kind of stays, for the most part, behind closed doors. Well, that's not happening right now, which is unusual. And what's even more unusual is, like, it's not just like anonymous sources whispering to reporters. Like, these are people coming out and publicly saying things that they're willing to put their name behind, that at times goes very publicly against the conference office in Birmingham. And it's not just the playoff. It's not just governance. We've seen it on the conference championship game. Greg Sankey in the conference office, they want the SEC championship game to continue. Well, 2 prominent athletic directors, Greg Byrne from Alabama and the aforementioned Chris Del Conte from Texas, University of Texas, have expressed some desire to move away from the conference championship game and to get rid of it. And so, again, that type of public disagreement that goes against the league office in Birmingham, it is unusual in this conference. That type of bickering, we're kind of accustomed to it, I would say, within the Big 12. It's part of the reason why, the Big 12 was always fighting off realignment and wondering who's staying and who's going, because, its members weren't always getting along, and not just not getting along behind closed doors. They weren't always getting along outside of closed doors, out in public. But that is unusual for the SEC.
Blake, good stuff, man. Appreciate your time. Really enjoy the columns. Keep it up. We'll see you down the road. You are covering the media days at all in July. Will you be at any of those conference events?
I'm not going to be at media days this year. I am team spring meetings. I think spring meetings are the new media days. That's where all the action happens. So I will be following along from afar.
You're right. They really have. They'd come and go. Didn't even know they existed. But go ahead.
I just wanted to close out with this, just kind of to put a bow on our conversation. Where do you think all of this ends up as far as the legislation? Like, what do you think we're talking about in a week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be?
I hate for cop-out answers, but the truth of the matter is I feel like the legislation is about 50-50, whether it becomes law or not. And I wish I could be more definitive on that, but it does feel fairly 50-50. As far as playoff expansion goes, I would say 24 is winning over 16. Does it mean 24 gets to the finish line? I don't know. But if I was to say like who's winning right now, I think the 24 team camp is winning. Part of that is because the status quo works for the Big Ten. I think they're able to dig in their heels a little bit more, and you've seen some fractures within the SEC ranks. I think it's going to be a little bit harder to hold their ranks together. So, but we've seen the SEC pull off these negotiations before. Greg Sankey is very effective in that space, and so although it looks like he might be kind of playing from his back foot right now, he's very experienced and very effective right there. So yeah, in some 50-50 on the legislation passing, and maybe a slight lead for the 2014 playoff right now.
Yeah, back in the days, the SEC, you kept it in your house. You kept it in the neighborhood. And if you went outside the neighborhood, somebody's going to probably stab you in the back because you just didn't do that. It's a little bit different right now. Thank you, Blake Topmeyer, USA Today, with us on 365 Sports. And coming up, Shahan Jayaraja, he'll join us from CBS Sports. Later on, Ari Wasserman. And yes, we'll also look in at West Virginia baseball. We started off the show with the beautiful singing after the win they had last night. This is the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Used to be is as if you get in your mid-30s, upper 30s, early 40s, it can kind of creep in that you start to lose T-level. Your low T level drops, and that can affect all sorts of things when it comes to your energy, from your everyday production to your everyday focus to even maybe sleep habits, and yes, also your sex drive and performance. Low T drops, and you do too. Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. Contact him, pettycliniclowt.com. Tell him I sent you. He will set you up for an appointment to get your blood work. He will get your T results and then get back in touch with you if it needs or you need a boost at pettycliniclowt.com.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Spring is here, and so are the savings during Richard Card's Spring into Savings sales event.
Buick Enclave, Envision, and Encore deliver premium quality and unbeatable value. Right now, non-GM owners can save $5,250 on all 2026 Buick Envisions in stock, or save $6,750 on all 2026 3-row Enclaves in stock.
Spring into action and save. Get your next ride at the Spring into Savings event at Richard Car.
At Richard Car, we give you more. Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
Here we go, this 4 o'clock hour, 365 Sports. Will take you up until sometime between 5:30 and 6. We appreciate your time. Hit the like button if you're on the YouTube channel, and we do appreciate your time there too. Shahan Jayaraja, CBS Sports, joins us a lot of times on Tuesdays on many things college athletics, and he joins us again this afternoon. Thank you, sir, for your time. So I know you were monitoring the hearing, the injunction hearing with Brendan Sorsby and the NCAA yesterday in Lubbock County. Anything out of that specifically popped in your mind as the most important or critical points?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, it was mostly what we expected, right? I think that Brendan Sorsby's attorneys did a really good job of fervently making a case that essentially that the NCAA should take further into account his mental health issues and gambling addiction when deciding on his punishment. At the same time, I think that the NCAA certainly as well made a pretty good point that they would be the first athletic organization in North America to allow a player who gambled on their own games to participate in his sport after the fact. So look, obviously with the judge, we don't necessarily know how it's going to go. He did ask for more information after the fact. According to Jeffrey Kessler, the lawyer for Brendan Sorsby, they expect a decision sometime this week and certainly ahead of the June 15th deadline for the supplemental draft. But at this point, it's just in the hands of the legal process. The one thing that I think was kind of interesting that Jeffrey Kessler did bring up was that there was a case of an Indiana volleyball coach, I want to say, who gambled on Indiana athletic events, and he was subject to a 30% season suspension and then was allowed to return. Now, I think that it's fair also to say that the case for a player participating versus a coach is a little different, but that does at least lend some idea to the fact that, you know what, the NCAA has been inconsistent with the way that they've applied these rules.
It would be it also a different sport, right? He wasn't betting on his sport, so there is that clarification as well, whereas Sorsby obviously did it at multiple schools. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens, Shahan, because I know Texas Tech fans are so passionate. They've got other things going on as we'll get to, but I think everybody just kind of wants to know what's going to happen here so we can pivot and just know what to expect as far as Tech goes and Brendan Sorsby goes.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I think that everybody is kind of coming up with their contingency plans. I mean, Joey McGuire last week at Big 12 meetings was very open about, like, here's our plan if Brendan Sorsby does not play. And again, just talking to people around the event. Now, again, it's the legal process. You don't know what's going to happen. I think that they're very much prepared for the idea that he might get rejected and Will Hammond might be the starting quarterback. And Joey McGuire told us during his press conference that Will Hammond is likely going to be ready for week 3 at Houston, which is, or versus Houston rather, in Lubbock, which is the Big 12 opener. But also they don't feel in any rush to rush him back, right? He said, if, you know, the statement that he said was that if Texas does schedule us for week 1, we're going to find a way to get Will Hammond back on the field in time for that. Otherwise, we're happy to wait and make sure that Will Hammond takes his time and is able to come back fully healthy.
I do think that I don't know, maybe I'm going to be overrating Houston and they're not going to be as good as but like that week 3, it's in Lubbock. But if you don't have Will Hammond and you're early on in the season, that could kind of be interesting. But you did bring up the Texas thing, and that was obviously a lot of fun last week. Shahan, like, I totally understand Tech, and they're playing the social media game and doing all that, and I understand Sark and the point he was actually trying to make. It's just a damn shame these teams don't play each other anymore, man. Like, what do you think it's going to take for us to see Texas A&M play a Houston, Texas to play a Texas Tech, TCU to play a Texas A&M? Are we just not going to have that anymore for the foreseeable future, you think?
think it's probably going to happen in the college football playoff if it does happen. Here's the reality, right? Is those teams left for the SEC, Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, whoever else you want to throw into that, right? They left for the SEC, and a big part of their deal was we want to cut down our competition at the knees. They don't want to validate Texas Tech. They don't want to validate Houston, TCU, Baylor, SMU especially. Like they don't want to view them as peers at that level. That's a huge part of this conversation, right? I mean, the one thing that certainly if you're a Big 12 fan, you're probably looking at is, look, it's one thing for Texas and Oklahoma to lead, but I think that they have been very clear, like, we want to try to destroy what was left behind. We don't want to have to worry about Texas Tech anymore. We don't want to have to worry about Baylor, TCU, Houston, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, whatever else. So I think that it's probably going to be most likely that it'll end up happening in the college football playoff. Now, again, I think that Texas A&M maybe a couple years down the road, maybe you start to see a little bit more in-state competition. I think that Texas is going to be very precious with when they decide to schedule a team again. And by the way, there's been at least some reporting out of the University of Texas's media corps that if they do ever renew a rivalry with one of these former Southwest Conference or Big 12 teams, it's only going to be a game in Austin. There will not be a return trip.
Yeah, well, so when and then I get it, and if you can, then do it. That's why when I saw some of the, I guess the Cruz Cantwell bill, which is going to be going in front of people tomorrow, when it says something about trying to like allow others to be, they left on purpose, just like A&M did, and then just like Texas did, and like others did. They don't want any it's like burning your past like that.
No, my biggest problem was A&M and Texas aren't going to agree to go back to the Southwest Conference and then share their TV money. That's like an immediate stop for me, and I know it had to be for them.
Yeah, it's like, what is it, Batman, when the Joker's walking down the street and things are blowing up all behind him. They're done with that. That's the way they feel about it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, again, like, I think that what's really interesting for me, especially like being a national guy, is there is like a legitimate level of like anxiety from even teams in the SEC, because let's remember, right? Like the SEC has not won a national championship since the 2022 season. I think that they feel like, wait a minute, we've been the power for 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden these Big Ten schools are the ones fighting back. Now, I think Texas and Texas A&M probably less so because they're doing so well from a financial perspective. But like, again, a lot of the stakeholders, even in the SEC, are looking around like, how do we create more advantages for ourselves? How do we make things easier for us? How do we put ourselves in even more of a position to succeed? And again, they're already a conference that has essentially every single advantage in their favor. So I think, again, like, I don't even think that it's necessarily about like a looking at Texas Tech and being like, oh, we need to stop that. I think that it's very much more we need to find a way to try to rig the game even more in our favor. And in some ways that's, let's try to undercut the competition in our own state.
No, I think you're dead on with that, and we'll see if that strategy works. But it's just a shame, just as a fan, like when you're not caught up in TV ratings and who's making what, you're just like, damn, it just kind of sucks that like TCU and Texas never play, Baylor and A&M never play. Like I know they don't care, but it just, I don't know. That's not the way college football is supposed to be, but it is college football the way that it is now. Now, speaking of Tech in Texas, how much softball you've been watching, pal? And is there any way we can get it to where, like, you know, behind home plate, there's like the 50-yard line. We can have Cody Campbell on one side of the row, and then we can have Steve Sarkisian on one side of the row, or Joey and Sark. Do you think we can arrange that somehow for this college softball World Series final?
Man, Texas Tech has been a pretty fun team during this run to the Women's College World Series, huh? And I mean, look, these two teams played last year as well in the final. It's crazy that we're getting the rematch. It's crazy that we're getting this matchup on the heels of everything that's happened, certainly on the football side with all the talking as well. Look, I think that both those coaches will probably be in attendance. I do not think they're going to be standing anywhere near each other whenever they do make it to Oklahoma City. But you know, again, like, I think it's really cool. I mean, and this is one of the cool things about the non-football sports, right? Is you do just get a little bit more of this. Like, softball teams play more often, basketball teams play more often. I mean, I remember when I was a student, right? Like Baylor played Texas A&M basketball, they had a home and home. That was a really cool experience for somebody, again, who grew up in DFW, enjoying both Texas A&M and Baylor. So I'm glad that we get a version of this. And again, like Texas Tech is loving that role of being the big bad, kind of bad guys of this moment in college softball. It's not just Nyjah Kennedy anymore. It's a whole team filled with all Americans that they brought in from abroad. I love seeing Jason Williams in the crowd. Like, how cool is that, right? So it's going to be a really fun series, and I hope that it lives up to the hype.
How long in the presser, and that might be today, I don't know, or how long in any of those will the football skirmish or the back and forth be put up before anyone talks softball?
Well, listen, there's a lot to talk about with these softball programs too, right? So I think that there's going to be a lot of enjoyment, again, especially with the rematch potential, with the focus that's been on Texas Tech softball. I think we're going to get a lot of it. Now, during the broadcasts, I'd imagine we get a whole bunch of people playing clips back and forth, certainly, to try to make reference to it. But, I mean, again, this is so much part of a bigger story of the relationship between the University of Texas and Texas Tech that, frankly, yes, dates back 5 years to the attempted collapse of the Big 12, but really goes back 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years to, throughout Texas Tech history. I love that we're getting this version of it in the Women's College World Series. I love how much attention is on it.
Yeah, if we can't get it in football, let's get it in other sports and have fun with it there. And certainly for a national title on the line as well. I mean, that's as good as it gets. So looking forward to it. Hope it's competitive and fun, whoever emerges on the other side of it. Now, we started kind of talking at the beginning about teams not playing each other. And a lot of that also has to do, Shahan, with just more conference games and schedules being reworked. What did you think of the floating of 10 conference games that was out there last week? The Big 12 everybody's talking about at least exploring the idea. What are your thoughts on 10 conference games as a possibility?
Man, 10 conference games is a lot of conference games.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, you add that every one of these teams needs to play a power conference non-conference game as well. Like, you're talking about 11 out of 12 games potentially being power conference games. And then on top of that, look, obviously, I've seen in the Big 12 the way that a lot of teams scheduled was they have their, sort of gimme game, whether that's an FCS or a low level. You have like a halfway decent group of 5 come to town usually, and then you have your big game. I loved that personally. I thought that worked really well because, again, you also, if you're one of these teams that's, on the come up or something or struggling a little bit, it's nice to have a couple games that you get to feel good about yourself, right? When you're playing 11 power conference games, there are going to be way more teams that go 1-11 or 2-10 than there have been in years past. And again, if you're a fan of one of the lesser programs in one of these conferences, that might not be a very good situation for you. I mean, I think even right now with the SEC moving to 9 games, I think of South Carolina, right? They've got 9 conference games. They play Clemson every single year, basically only guaranteed 2 wins a year on their schedule. That's a tough position to be in. So, the case that Brett Yormark made was essentially, and this is the conversation that's going along around in general, is one, especially if we move to a 2014 playoff, how do we maximize how much of the power and value of our conference that's inside of it? The other thing, too, is especially when you start looking out to renegotiating the television contract, I mean, that would be a 10% increase in inventory to try to monetize, right? That's a huge part of this equation. So, for me, again, I'm looking at it less from a business perspective and more from a sports and watchability perspective. 10 is pushing it, but at the same time, I mean, we have reached a point where we have 16 to 18 team conferences. And I guess it does make at least some sense to say, let's at least try to play half the teams in our conference.
Yeah, especially with some of the non-cons being canceled, et cetera. All right, so the 26-27 college football playoff schedule came out yesterday. We didn't even get a chance to get to it, and I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I did this morning. There will be 11 or 12 days between the first round and quarterfinals, 13 to 15 days between quarters and semis, and then 10 or 11 between the semis and championship game. Why so many long delays?
Well, the short answer is that they're trying to avoid the NFL, right? They can't play on Saturdays and Sundays, and that completely messes up the schedule that you're trying to put together. And by the way, one thing that you'll notice is that there are a lot of games later into the playoff that are going to be on TNT. Those games that are sub-licensed are typically ones that are expected to go directly up against the NFL. We have ones in the semifinals that are going to be on TNT because we're worried about that possibility. You know, it's funny. So we had our daughter back in 2024. It ended up being the last year of the 14 playoff. And I felt real smart because she was born January 19th, 10 days after the title game. Now we're pushing way past when her birthday would have been. I thought that we got her in after the season was done. We're pushing all the way to January 25th now. So it's just such a crazy amount of time in between these games, like you said. I mean, I've talked to people around, for example, Texas Tech, right? They are just very clear that, yeah, I mean, we do not view it as an excuse, but 25 days between our Big 12 title game and our first playoff game was just like so hard to figure out. Like, how do you plan for that length of time off? It doesn't exist. Now, all of a sudden, between every round, essentially, we're going to have 2 weeks in between them. It just starts to add up so much. They just have to find a way to work out the schedule, and that might involve having to play directly up against NFL games.
Shahan, great as always. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Shahan Jayaraja, CBS Sports, with us a lot of times on Tuesdays on many things, college football. We do appreciate his time. By the way, UT in the note, somebody in the chat, I believe it was it Kim or General Ursus or who, it doesn't matter. They don't want to play teams that they've left, like, for example, in the Big 12 for the SEC, neither did A&M. But UT has played Rice 15 times since they left and merged with the Big 8 to become the Big 12. 15 times. And that's a long-standing rivalry, and UT's won 75 out of 90 or whatever, like with most of their rivalries. But that didn't stop them from scheduling Rice.
No, yeah, and I understand their point and what they're trying to do, and I do think Shahan's right. They're not going to give any breath, any air to the lungs of competitors, and whether they see Texas Tech, TCU, Houston, whoever on their level or not, which we know they don't, but for what level they do see them as chipping into any of their greatness or affecting them in any way, yeah, they just want to go ahead and cut that piece out and be done with it and not be threatened in any way by it, because best believe there is a little bit of a threat when Texas Tech is suddenly taking some 5 stars from you that you were otherwise probably going to land, and you were only really competing with A&M, Georgia, whoever for. Now it's a different story when it's Texas Tech and they've got a pretty rowdy and I'd say I don't know if cocky is the right word I would say for Cody Campbell, but a guy who's definitely not afraid to get on Twitter and start talking trash to Sark or to Del Conte or whoever. And he's, I think, only more inspired by their pushback to spend more money to then further threaten them and to be on their level and to beat them if given the opportunity. So if you can just push all that to the side and not give them any air, and all you have to worry about is A&M basically in the state, then yeah, I totally understand that approach. And I think that's exactly the approach. I also think there is this level of, some would call it arrogance, of we're just too good to play you now. It's not even like it's better for us to not play you to kind of suffocate you. It's like also we're playing all these teams. We don't need to play you anymore. And I totally understand all that. I'm not confused as to why Texas isn't playing these games. I'm not confused as to why Texas A&M's not playing these games. I just think it's a shame they're not playing some of these games. Now, I don't want them to like tour Texas every year and just all those teams play each other, because I would get bored with that as well. But I don't think it's a bad thing if every once in a while that non-con was TCU and A&M as opposed to TCU and Mississippi State or some random matchup like that. So that's all. I would love it if Texas signed like a home and away every 5 years, and I think they'll probably never play Baylor again. TCU had their number more often than not, so they might not want to play them. Tech clearly is a team that they probably don't want to give any more oxygen to. And then Houston, I think they feel like Houston's just so below them. And we know how they felt about Houston being in the Big 12. They weren't going to have any part of that. So
yeah, I don't know if you can ever get them to back off that, but it is a shame that you're going to have, I mean, the same way you had a whole generation of kids that didn't see A&M and Texas play. That was ridiculous. That was stupid. And now you get it back and you're like, this was great. And those aren't all A&M Texas level rivalries, but there is something special about it. And it's a shame that we're just going to see like 20 years where the only Texas team Texas played was A&M and like Sam Houston,
UTSA, Texas State.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is that there was an ego thing with A&M and Texas. A&M left, and Texas said, "Screw, you're the ones that left us."
Yeah.
But then they also left too. When we come back, Ari Wasserman on 3. Craig's off the radar around the corner. Voice of West Virginia baseball, Andrew Caridi at 5. Thank you for your time. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. We continue this 4 o'clock hour. Again, voice of West Virginia baseball, Andrew Caridi at 5. Ari Wasserman on 3.com joins us, and Craig Smoke and David Smoke. Ari, thank you. So when you wake up or even before you go to bed to plan your day of coverage the next day or the day of, is it the college football playoff? Is it Congress? Is it Brendan Sorsby? What is the order?
The most important, I mean, I guess I would probably go college football playoff number one, because I think that that's something that's going to have long-lasting impact on the way that we consume the sport. Although it's getting kind of old to write about the same 5 things over and over again, and people have already made up their mind. Brendan Sorsby, I think, is interesting in that if he somehow wins this injunction, that kind of makes it clear that the NCAA can't enforce any rules, let alone the one that everybody kind of agrees upon, which could be a major fork in the road. And what was the last one?
The other one would just be Congress. Yeah, and what's going on?
Oh, yeah. Congress is dead last for me.
Yeah.
I just have I didn't get into this business to, cover politics. And, frankly speaking, if I'm going to be vulnerable with you, I'm not a huge politics guy and frankly, don't really know how it all works. So I do my best to do what I can to informed as it comes to my job in college football in general. But in terms of Congress and the likelihood that anything passes there that impacts our day to day, I think that's probably relatively unlikely.
Well, I feel the same way you do. We cover it because we need to, because it affects the sport. But for the most part, I wish it wasn't around. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Ari, how have you found the coverage of the offseason kind of evolve for you and talking about all these things he just brought up? I mean, normally we talk about spring ball. A lot of people don't seem to care as much about spring ball. Recruiting's entirely different. The calendar is seemingly year-round unofficially now, but what's it like from your perspective to cover what is a constant news cycle seemingly year-round?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a constant news cycle. It's just kind of shifted a little bit. I think that the one thing that the NIL transfer portal era has done while giving people an opportunity to compete at levels they hadn't been able to do for the previous 20 years is that it impacts the connection that people have with the players on their team, because nobody has faith that they're going to be around long term. The spring used to be a big deal because people could go to the spring games, watch their players develop, get excited about the future. And really, I don't think that there's a connection to the younger players in the team anymore because there's no faith they're going to be there long term. So like that to me is the biggest difference between this era and the past. Obviously, you've got the parity and you've got the compensation and the portal window and all the things that are different. But in terms of the DNA of what makes fans tick, I think that that's completely different, because when you sign a kid out of high school, that used to mean something, and now it frankly doesn't.
We were just talking about Elite 11 yesterday, and I had the same exact thought of, man, I used to remember when Elite 11 seemed like a pretty big deal, and it still is. It's the event itself hasn't changed, but it just doesn't feel the same caring about it, because is this guy going to be at USC in 2 years or at Oklahoma in 2 years? It's just it's hard to invest the same, to your point.
I think that quarterback recruiting is obviously always going to be the number one thing, because getting your quarterback of the future is the one thing that if the guy is legit, will probably be around for a while. But even then, if you go look at the way the quarterbacks move around, even, at the top of the call, you asked me about Brendan Sorsby. Now he's on his third team and probably he's going to be finished. But, guys move based on financial implications more so than ever before. And I missed this. I thought recruiting was the backbone of the sport. I cut my teeth in this business covering recruiting. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of sad to see that, the importance of these announcements. And, when you used to get a 5-star offensive tackle, that meant you had a good left side of your line short up for 3 to 4 years. And now it doesn't really mean anything. And that's a shame. But on the other hand, we get a whole other week where your team can improve dramatically with known commodities and free agency that makes your season completely different immediately. So it depends on what you like, but I always used to think that people would be connected to recruiting because recruits would go to the schools that you love, walk the hallways that you walked, eat at the restaurants that you ate at, and have a connection to your university the way that you do. And that's just not the case anymore. It's full on professional football.
Yeah, not only are the ones that you see sign with their favorite program, whoever it might be, they leave, but the fact you have guys coming in that you don't know they're going to be playing for your team, and you're have to play catch up of who they are. There is no family atmosphere, so to speak, no matter what any coach might think.
And I kind of wish that we could get to a place where players weren't being taken advantage of while also having to remain loyal to the place. And I know there's a middle ground there somewhere. It doesn't have to be the wild, wild west where everybody tests their market value every single offseason. Obviously, that involves collective bargaining and getting to a place where people all, agree to the same rules and understand, like in the NFL, that when you sign up or are part of that union, you're able to, have the benefits of compensation while also maybe not bastardizing the system by taking a bigger paycheck from another place every now and then. And the thing that's also funny, too, that we don't even hear about most of the time is players that stay and the negotiations the coaches have to go through in order to retain those players. Like, it might just be like, I'm coming back, but nobody sees the 1 week battle behind the scenes that the coach is probably going through with the collective to get the guy paid enough to stay. So, the calendar's messed up. And I do think that in the offseason, we have this tendency in college football, and I don't know if it's like this in other sports, where everybody's got to list out the 9,000 problems that it has and how to fix it. And here's what the playoff should look like. Here's what the calendar should look like. Here's what all the things that were broken. And I don't want to sound like an old curmudgeon that doesn't love college football, because last year was highly successful and highly entertaining, and I had a great time covering it. So, things change and nothing stays the same forever. And, I guess we're just kind of like living in that evolutionary period right now where college football is trying to find out who it is again.
Ari, how badly would you love to see a Texas versus Texas Tech playoff matchup?
I'd like to see them play in the first week of the season. If I were the commissioner of the sport, as Josh Pace likes to say, I would leave open dates on everybody's schedule in order to schedule games from trash talking or playoff context or anything. Could you imagine if we were able to plug and play matchups in the middle of a year?
Oh man, be awesome.
Do you remember when BYU played Coastal Carolina during COVID? Where everybody's like, God, I'd love to see them play, and then they actually played. Wouldn't it be cool if that was a feature of every season?
Yeah.
Where it's like you have the 13 and 14 seeds yelling at each other about who's better. And then you actually just get to plug it in. Replace conference championship weekend with that. You could have replaced conference championship weekend last year with a Miami Notre Dame rematch. Do you imagine if you had the ability to do that?
COVID did prove that if you want something to get done, you can get it done when it comes to trying to find games it was 10 years ago when our schedule was set up, which is not always the case anymore.
Yeah, well, most coaches would actually be down with that. I mean, I think if instead of calling us behind the scenes and complaining about their place in the CFP rankings, I'm sure they'd rather be able to play teams that are in front of them, and do it. And I think that there's probably a way that you can get television on board to air the most compelling matchups that we could imagine. We send people to the moon. We're trying to cure cancer right now. I can FaceTime somebody in Europe. We can't figure out a way to get an open week at the end of the year.
No, that's an absolutely great point, man. In regards to Texas Tech, I mean, even regardless of whatever happens with Sorsby, I still think the feeling is that they're going to be the best team. Maybe BYU, maybe Utah with a Morgan Scalley. I know that you guys cover nationally college football. Tech kind of takes the bulk of the Big 12 headlines, but there's another team coaching change or something storyline-wise that sticks out to you about the Big 12?
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to watch Oklahoma State play. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a sicko too. We know we talk about the SEC and the Big 10 a lot, but we're pretty caught up on the Big 12, and I'd love to see, the one thing that I've learned in college football that I didn't think was true 5 years ago is that the best 10 players on a G6 team or a good G6 team are probably as good as the 10 best players on most power teams. And with Eric Forrest going to Oklahoma State, bringing a large portion of those North Texas roster, I think they flipped 80 of the 85 scholarship spots, if I'm correct. To see how good those North Texas players can be with another offseason playing at a higher level. I'm very curious. I'm not saying they're going to go out and win the Big 12 or anything, but in terms of being a college football sicko, I'm kind of excited to see what they look like after being completely unwatchable the last 2 years.
Since we didn't know and maybe didn't trust Indiana in 24, and then, of course, they validated everything and so on, even more so in 25. Ari, do you see someone else like them, or is it impossible because we probably don't see someone else like what they've done the last 2 years?
Well, I'm still trying to decide that. Was last year's Indiana team one of the most remarkable stories in the history of college football, or was it the first team of the beginning of the new trend? That's the thing that's kind of interesting. Now, obviously, Kurt Sagetti is a genius, and how fast he flipped that is something for the storybooks, no matter what comes after him. But is this going to be viewed as remarkable as we review it right now in 10 years when we have 10 more teams, 10 more things to track? So, I think that I don't know if I could come out of the blue and picture which team can just come out of nowhere to win the national championship already. But what I do know is that I have a highly curious mind when it comes to roster accumulation with the way that people are doing it in the portal, and whether or not you can flip a team into being really, really good after being the worst team in the country.
So, Ari, I saw, and I can't recall what poll it is, and there's just so many of those things out there at this time of year especially, but had Indiana at number 1 again, despite Mendoza and so forth. I know they bring a lot back. Are you of the mind that this is Indiana now and number 1 preseason rankings, no matter what they lose, and just that's going to kind of be what we can come to expect moving forward?
Yeah. I think that the way that you can tell that that's the case is because they're going out and getting guys like Nick Marsh. They're competitive for 5-star prospects in the recruiting process. And obviously, I think that, Indiana is going to be a highly attractive portal destination for a lot of top tier players, and Kurt Cignetti is taken seriously. So, I don't know that Indiana is going to be Ohio State or Alabama or somebody who's winning the national championship 6 times in 10 years. But I do think that if you don't think that this is a team that's going to be a legit top 15 team year in and year out moving forward, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, I agree. He seems to have the magic. Do stars, and I know how you feel about this, they're starting to get spread out a little bit when it comes to recruiting because of the portal, but are stars still going to the same 10 or 12 teams like they always have, the big boy 5-star players?
Sorry, my daughter's pulling on my leg here. I'm sorry if she's interrupting us. It is getting more spread out, and I think that a lot of the same players are going to a lot of the same places out of high school because those places are, obviously proven to get you ready for the NFL and do all those things. But what the talent is spreading out where players who don't want to sit. Like the way that you have to think about this is that back in 2017, when Georgia signed a class, they might get a top 130 player who's ranked the number 14 player in their class. That's why the same teams won it every year, because the same teams kept stacking talent that would have been the best overall player in another class. But now that 14th best player in Georgia's class, who's a top 150 player nationally, can go get paid 7 figures to go play at an atypical school. So the talent is just, there's too much money at stake for people who haven't even been proven as NFL assets yet to turn their backs on to be riding the bench somewhere else. So I don't know what's going to happen when the salary cap takes place. Obviously, I don't think that's enforceable. I don't know what revenue share is going to do, but what I do know is that if I were a 5-star offensive tackle and Virginia Tech offered me $1.7 million a start, or Georgia offered me $250 to sit on the bench, I'm probably taking the life-changing money, and that's why those types of things are happening. So, I think that the last 20 years, or the years 2006 to 2022 were a very unique time, where the Southern schools that had the most proximity to talent and, tradition were hoarding talent at a level that I'm not sure is tenable anymore. And that's probably the reason why there's 14 or 15 teams that could conceivably win the national championship going into this year when it used to be 4 or 5.
Hey, Ari, I just wanted to get clarification. We were talking about Texas and Texas Tech earlier, and I in prepping for the interview, was looking over your Twitter and your columns and everything. Who do you think Sark was targeting? Was he just targeting everybody in the Big 12 but Texas Tech, or do you think it was where did you think that was going initially?
I don't think he was trying to insult Texas Tech personally.
Okay.
Now, he's probably feeling Texas Tech in recruiting battles in which, they weren't a factor recently. And he might resent Texas Tech for being able to waltz into the playoff in a schedule that, isn't nearly as hard that he perceives as the SEC is. But what I do know is that Sark is probably pretty upset about the way last year went. He views his schedule was harder than everybody else's, and that they lost to Ohio State. That was their 3rd loss that kept them out. But I think that it is kind of funny that Texas Tech kind of got the brunt of the attention when really he was taking the dump on the entire Big 12. Because he said a team in our state has a schedule that they can waltz through. What does that mean? It means Texas Tech's schedule, not Texas Tech. So if this is a Big 12 focused conversation, I would be as offended if I were in Arizona State or if I were BYU, which funny enough is his alma mater, because I think that's who he was targeting even more so than Texas Tech, although I'm sure he also resents Texas Tech's presence as a national power given their route to the playoff.
All right, what does your daughter want? A drink, Kool-Aid, a sandwich? What is she wanting?
There's actually a fly in the house and it's scaring her. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys heard her during that time, but
no.
She's a sweet little girl, but I think that she doesn't understand that we're on radio right now. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and I got to go find a fly swatter here.
Go get it. Thanks, Ari. Ari Wasserman with us on 3.com.
Be well, guys. Thanks for having me.
You too, Ari. Have a great time flying that fly. At least it's not like a tarantula or something like that. Flies to me are, first of all, they're nasty, they're dirty, they're filthy, and they're annoying as hell. But a fly swatter, I always have one near my desk, and I have one in the kitchen, and I'll grab it quickly, and I'm pretty good about nuking whatever is getting around that shouldn't be there.
The fly swatter was a great invention. It really was. It's very effective and always satisfying when you hit your target, especially when it's a particularly annoying fly that's maybe been hanging around for a while. So yeah, that's I don't know. I've never looked into the history of that, but that was a brilliant invention, and certainly has saved a lot of brain cells for a lot of people, a lot of sanity saved by that weapon of choice. But yeah, thanks to Ari for hopping on and giving his thoughts on a variety of topics there, while also juggling parenting duties. Thought he handled that well, and good to talk to him for first time in a while. And yeah, I see where he's coming from. I wanted to get clarity on the Texas Tech thing, because I had seen a tweet from a few days ago, like I said, in reading up before we had the show today, and I can see. I mean, I still think he was talking about Tech personally. Like I just don't know what the benefit, but he could be talking about the scope of the Big 12, including his alma mater and BYU. But damage done, whatever you want to define damage as far as not anything that's going to hurt Texas necessarily, but as far as just being kind of an annoying news cycle there for a few days, he did create that, and people took it how they wanted to take it. So not putting the cat back in that bag, but yeah, it's a situation where I just really hope we can get Texas versus Texas Tech in the playoff, or some matchup like that.
Who is it? Yurachek, now the committee chairman with the college football playoff, which is months down the road, but that would be the NCAA men's basketball tournament and women's tournament's not afraid to do that.
No, I mean, and then like the thing is whether or not that ever happens soon. I mean, softball tonight will be bragging rights, so whatever carries over from last week, different sport, but certainly there will be Longhorn fans that poke one way, or Texas Tech fans that'll be able to say that they evened the score and evened last year's result, and we'll say that so that's why you're scared to play us in football, is because you see what's happening. You know, that kind of thing is it's going to be fun to see whatever that result is. Although it's not obviously black to black or white to white, it's a different comparison. But when you're reaching for any kind of reason to talk trash, the softball result will definitely be one of those, and maybe it's part of the pathway we get to where it ultimately culminates in them meeting up in like the semifinals or something. And I think that would be absolutely fantastic to see. And hopefully it would be a better game than the last time we saw, when that was not very competitive at all. I also will say that was a bit of a different version of Tech than the version we've gotten as of last year, a bit more of a talented Tech team.
Yeah, and the version that beat Tech 57-7 was a different version that Texas was the year before when Tech beat them in Lubbock.
Yeah,
the field goal. Yeah,
much different situation now, talent-wise. So I would love to see it. I still complain about the fact we didn't get SMU Texas, and I know I'm probably in the minority there, but I just think that would have been really cool to have the Ponies travel down 35 and go to Austin, and instead it was Clemson, and the Mustangs got shellacked by James Franklin and the Nittany Lions. But that would have been cool, and I hope that if anything, the playoff can bring us back some of the regionality, as stupid as that sounds, because the conferences have some semblance of it, but in a lot of ways they don't. And it's going to take the playoff to get us a Texas A&M versus a TCU, or a Texas versus a Texas Tech, and so on and so forth. And probably the same. I know Oregon State, kudos to them for keeping their rivalry going. Not all of it is gone to ash, but in the state of Texas, it certainly has. You've seen a battle line drawn, and there's the Big 12 side, and there's the SEC too, and then there's everybody else who's kind of in the middle playing who they can play and trying to make a name for themselves as well. So it's just going to be a shame if we look back in 20, 25 years and there's like basically no meetings between Texas and any of the other schools, or A&M and any of the other schools. And I know they won't care. I understand that.
Yeah,
but
they're not going to be scheduling them. That's for sure.
No, that's what I mean. It's like, and I know they don't care. I'm not confused by that. And I totally understand their approach, and vice versa for the schools that don't want to play them. That's not the part I'm hung up on. It's just that it's just a shame that you're going to have people go a couple decades and they never have seen A&M play fill in the blank, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of rivalries that die on the vine, and especially now in the last, really since the mid-'90s.
And the argument would be, well, those weren't really rivalries anyways.
Well, Nebraska, Oklahoma damn sure was. But it's not the same. It's not the same. Now it's like looking at black and white film. Hey, remember when they played? It's not the same.
Like, I mean, TCU and A&M, granted, they were in the Southwest Conference, and I don't know, I know they don't consider each other rivals in any way, but they played over 80-something times, and then they've played one time since like gosh, when was it, like 95? They played like one time.
They weren't even in the Big
span.
12 in 95. No,
they were just
weren't.
about to be.
They were about to be. You're right.
But yeah, they played.
Well, and there's the separation.
They
there.
played one time since 95, TCU and A&M, and they had played 80-something times prior to that. So that's just what I mean is that maybe that one doesn't register as much, but A&M and Texas Tech had some real bad blood there. Like that one, that was a rivalry.
No, there was the goalpost going up in the stands, and there were
A&M. I don't know that they considered it a rivalry.
Texas Tech was thumping them for a long time there.
When I was out in Lubbock, they considered. I mean, I think the team that you still wanted to beat was Texas as far as the in-state schools go, and then Oklahoma, like asterisk next to Oklahoma. But as far as the team that I remember people hating, it was A&M. Like that's the team. If like you could only choose, like you could only beat one team, if it wasn't for like the effect of beating Texas. It was just down to bad blood and the effect of beating somebody notable. Like, yeah, that was A&M without question. I don't know if that's still, I guess our Tech fans in chat can let us know how they still view A&M, but that's definitely one that I think we missed out on. Not every matchup is great, but that one had some spice to it.
Nebraska, Missouri played 104 times. They have not played since Nebraska left for the Big Ten. 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, Oklahoma and Missouri.
104 times.
Oklahoma and Missouri's long-standing rivalry that luckily has now been renewed, but that was a good one. And I know that was a school that when Oklahoma joined the SEC, it was like, yeah, we get to still play Texas, and now we get to play A&M again. But another big one, yeah, we get to play Missouri. Like that was, I mean, they're in close proximity. There's a history there, a long history, and so that was a big deal as well to reignite that one. So we gained some, we lost some, but we're probably never going to get back to a place to where it was. That's for sure.
I was looking up one more, and then we break for Craig and off the radar. Kansas, Missouri, forever started playing in the late 1800s. Oh, they've actually played
this year. They played last year.
They played the last 5 years,
Yeah.
so that's the good news. They renewed that after about a 10-year absence. So when we come back, Craig Smoke off the radar, Andrew Caridi, who was broadcasting that West Virginia regional win last night to get to the Super Regionals and the amazing atmosphere afterwards. This is the Smoke Show in 365 Sports. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. And America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels in Waco.
It's time for Craig Smoke's Off the Radar.
All right, welcome back into 365 Sports here. Going to be talking some West Virginia baseball, I guess, here in a few minutes, but try to get to some other things in the meantime. And a lot of championships being decided here, whether it's college or pro sports. But the big headlines yesterday, we kind of touched on it at the end of the show, were the couple of massive trades in the NFL. A.J. Brown finally getting traded away from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's now a member of the New England Patriots. Saw a video just earlier. He's already catching balls from Drake May, unless that was AI or something. He was already out there and catching some passes and living it up. And just found it interesting of one of the quotes in an article written about it as like there's kind of a split opinion in the Philly locker room over finally getting away from A.J. Brown and Jordan Mailata, their left tackle. I think this is more of a, it sounds terrible, but like, thank God it's over. It was a slow pain of just, is he in, is he out? We didn't really know, and that really wasn't our focus as a team, our team, especially on offense. So Brown, now a member of the Patriots, going for a 2028 first-round pick and a 2027 fifth-rounder. And so finally, after months and months and months of speculation, that trade goes through. You had some other guys that were friends of his that, and I don't think Mailata was taking a shot. It's just that, like in any business, in any company, if you got somebody who's just kind of in or out and they're just kind of a tweener and you just want to know, like, what does this look like on the other side of it? So the Eagles are about to find out, but did get some good draft picks in return. And so that was a huge splash. But the other one, and probably more notable, especially for us here in the state of Texas, was obviously Myles Garrett finally getting out of Cleveland, even though he had made the choice to stick around in Cleveland. But I would think that maybe the long-term plan, the short-term plan was sign this big fat contract in Cleveland, and then the long-term plan was we're going to sign this, and then we're going to get you out of here somehow or another, because I can't imagine for 1 second, no matter how good the money was, that Myles Garrett was just going to wither away as a member of the Cleveland Browns for the rest of his career. So he's now a member of the LA Rams as part of a blockbuster deal, and that deal includes not only Garrett going to the Rams, but the Rams getting Jared Verse, which is a really, really good pickup, but also a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 third-round pick. So as much as people are reacting to Garrett and him being on the move, I think the Browns got a hell of a haul in return. I'd be really happy with Jared Verse and a first-round pick and then a second-round pick and a third-round pick. I mean, Myles Garrett's that dude, no doubt about it. So you needed to get a big haul in return. But as critical as I am of the Cleveland Browns' entire existence, basically, the way that they run that franchise has been dysfunctional for decades now. I don't feel like they've earned the respect to be given respect in a lot of ways. But I respect the trade-off they got here. I think that's actually a pretty good haul for Myles Garrett. He wasn't going to be the guy that won you the Super Bowl, whether you had him or you didn't. So you can bring in
not
three more players.
Yeah,
not for them. That's the point. So you bring in three more players that to be determined, and a really good player already in Jared Verse. So pretty busy day in the NFL.
They in 2016, the Rams took Jared Goff from California, first-round pick. 17 through 23, no pick because of trades to various people. Brandon Cooks 1 year at New England. Jalen Ramsey to the Jaguars, the first-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. Then, of course, the blockbuster to the Lions for Stafford. Verse in 24, no pick in 25, and then Ty Simpson was the pick in 2026. And that pick was traded to, the Rams picked him up by trading Trent McDuffie to Kansas City. They're always in the mix. They find a way. They actually remember Aaron Donald, and traded him because he had served the purpose and it was time to get rid of him. They are amazing about staying in the mix. And this is a hell of a pickup with Myles Garrett.
Yeah, it is a heck of a pickup. They didn't trade Aaron Donald, though. Aaron Donald retired, which actually leads me to my next story is, Aaron Donald absolutely was never traded by the Rams, the only team he's played for in his career. He retired, but actually the big story is in light of this Myles Garrett news is Aaron Donald, and I don't know how often he does this because I don't peruse his social media, but had a workout video.
Yep.
Just insane, the size of this guy and the weight that he's throwing around like it's just absolutely nothing. And
the message, I guess, being sent, not only is he a big, strong dude, but he's still in really good shape. And apparently he's also now more interested than maybe anybody, including himself, thought about coming back to play again, and particularly to play on his only team ever, the LA Rams.
That would be great.
To play alongside Myles Garrett. So that is the scuttlebutt now, is that Aaron Donald may, in fact, be coming out of retirement. Nothing official on that front, but it's got him thinking. And Pat McAfee, I believe, was chiming in on this earlier today. And I don't know if he had talked to Donald in particular or where he got his info. I didn't hear the reference to that part, but I did see that he was backing up these rumors and saying that he had heard similar. So wherever he got that from, first person or not, that's the scuttlebutt, is that maybe Aaron Donald comes to back to play with Myles Garrett, which would be just insane. It's like video game stuff.
Yeah, because he's probably still in great shape because he took care of his body. And then why not? He gets juiced up because he can get next to Myles Garrett. It's almost like you add that to the trade. If he comes back and if he's effective and talented like he always was, you have to almost add that to what the Rams get by picking up Myles Garrett.
Yeah, and I guess I wanted to make sure I got it right. That I guess that was McAfee via some text that he had traded with Aaron Donald. Is what it looks like he got that from. So yeah, straight from the source, and McAfee is very well connected, as we all know. I don't need to explain that, but will be really interesting to see if Donald does come back, because again, him and Garrett on the same defense is just, I just want to see it. Like, I don't even care if it lasts the full year or not. I just want to see that. So yeah, I'm very interested in Myles Garrett getting this opportunity with a much better team, see if he can't win a ring before it's all said and done, because he's definitely one of the greatest of all time. And now he's got a much better percentage chance of hoisting a Super Bowl trophy when it's all said and done. So meanwhile, tonight in the NHL, got Vegas and Carolina Stanley Cup Finals, Game 1 getting underway in Carolina, in North Carolina, 7 o'clock on ABC. That's Game 1. Game 2 will be Thursday. Game 3 on Saturday. And then tomorrow, the NBA Finals will get underway. The Knicks at San Antonio for the first couple of games. The Spurs playing host and very familiar with hoisting trophies. The Knicks have done it before, but it's been, as every media outlet across the country has pointed out ad nauseum for the last several weeks, it's been a really long time. So cool to see a rematch from the late 90s that I remember sitting in a hotel room on some random vacation watching the Spurs win the trophy for the first time. But that was a while ago, so we'll see who comes out on top here. But yeah, San Antonio hosting tomorrow at 7:30 on ABC, and I'm going to take the Spurs in that one. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think the Spurs win this series.
Well, the West, whoever's going to win, the West was favored, unless it was a stunning upset of an 8 seed that kept winning. The West was going to be favored to win the championship series, and in this case, it's San Antonio, not OKC, but either one would be favored. Yep.
So there you go with that, and I think that's about it. Actually, I know we got a guest coming up, so I'll just leave it there with that.
All right, Stanley Cup playoffs. Where are we?
As I said, tonight.
That's why I asked. I was responding to an email
Carolina.
about Big 12 Media Days. Okay. All right. When we come back, Andrew Caridi was there, Morgantown, West Virginia, as the Mountaineers punched their ticket to the Super Regional, which is in their backyard. That scene, that atmosphere, and more. This is 365 Sports.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow. No matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
You know, we started the show earlier today. We're going to hear from Andrew Caridi, West Virginia sports, and also baseball voice for West Virginia. We set up the show because late yesterday, actually it was this morning. I went and worked out. And I started to piece together today's rundown and look at some tweets that I send into what we have as an app like Basecamp. And we had to start. Rez, do you got that available? We had to start the show after the Open with this atmosphere yesterday evening, last night in Morgantown, West Virginia. And we will play it again before we get to Andrew because some of you reacted to it. I got goosebumps. Hell, I'm in Waco. Just because of the song, the way it is, how good it is, how strong it is, and how passionate the fan base in West Virginia and Morgantown was last night. Rez, don't worry about it. That's okay. Let's go to it. Oh, got it? Here we go. There is, we started the show today, and Andrew Caridi, voice of West Virginia baseball, and also other athletic and sports joined us on 365 Sports. Andrew, that gives me goosebumps, and I was just watching a replay of the video. What did that do to you being at the stadium after that moment when they clinched the Super Regional?
Yeah, just unbelievable. You're just kind of sitting there in awe because you've watched this program, what they've done in the last 3 years, just completely ascend to new levels. And it was hard to believe, even going back a couple of years ago, you win a first Big 12 championship. That's all well and good. You win a Big 12 championship in a regional in the same season with a crazy atmosphere and beating Kentucky in dramatic fashion last year. And you're like, it can't get any better than this. And then it did. And it did at home in front of the most people and the best atmosphere in West Virginia baseball history. So for me, there were multiple points that entire weekend where I am just sitting back, stunned at what I'm seeing, speechless. I laid out a lot on some of the big plays because I just had nothing to say.
So West Virginia's had success, recently in various sports, whatever. But how much did this feel like a much needed sort of jolt for the program, for the fans of West Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year actually in total has been really awesome. It's been a year-round jolt, right? So you get the West Virginia women's basketball team winning a Big 12 tournament championship. They got to host a regional against Kentucky, coincidentally, earlier in the winter, and that hadn't happened since the 90s. You have hosted also men's and women's soccer games, the NCAA tournament. So you're getting that experience regularly throughout this entire year. Obviously, you got the crown with the men's basketball team. So it's actually been a really successful year. And overall, this kind of seems like the peak of everything, right, as the last sport that plays in the spring.
How much credit for kind of what's happening right now do you give to Ren Baker and just the job that he's done? Like, what would you point to as far as his ability to kind of bring everything together, the resources, just organize everything and get everybody on the same page?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just investment, whether it be in the extra scholarships provided in the fall, attention to detail, and what makes it better for the fans and the fans' experience. He's very detail oriented. He's very studied. And so when you put that into practice with some common sense and good wisdom, that's going to go a really long way. Probably the best hire he makes, right? He's made a ton of really good hires, but Steve Saban's just sitting there as an assistant coach when Coach Mazey decides to step down. And definitely an interesting process. Coach and waiting thing obviously doesn't happen all that often, but it was perfect because Sabes has been here for 10 years, so he knows what it takes. He's been doing everything for the program, and super smooth.
They've been knocking on this door to get to that next, I up like an elevator from the first floor to the third floor to the fifth floor. So they knocked it down because they were touched very close to that last year. How much did the experience from that help, you think, this year?
Yeah, no, a ton. Coach Saban says that all the time. When you go to Big 12 tournament games, when you go to hosting a regional, playing in another regional, he calls back. And even though a lot of players are different on this year's team than last year's team, you still have enough of a holdover of like Carson Estridge, a 4-year guy who's a pitcher for us, Brody Kresser, who's with his, with West Virginia for his 3rd year, Amani Guzman, also in his 3rd year with West Virginia. And so the big transfers who make plays, and the Gavin Kellys, of course, who's only a sophomore, they can look at those guys, and Coach Saban says, what's going through the minds of the guys who are maybe new to West Virginia? Well, they can look at him, see what they're doing since they've been here before and kind of settle in. And that's a really important component.
What do you think Friday is going to be like?
Yeah, crazy. Obviously, it'll be like a noon football game because they're really early starts compared to some of the other super regionals. We've been lucky to have evening games and for those atmospheres. So noon game Friday and Saturday. The crowd and what you saw and what you showed there on that replay was akin to a football game. Just the amount of energy, right? You didn't like during big plays in the game. Nobody's arms were down. They were all up. They were all jumping up and down. So I think that carries over. You probably get a nice like football game-esque tailgate, and obviously a smaller venue.
The series against KU at the end of the year when West Virginia swept them, and I think that might have been in Lawrence.
It was.
KU bounced back to still, of course, clinch the regular season title, then win the tournament. But how much oomph did West Virginia get out of that series in Lawrence?
Oh, a ton, right? That put all the belief in the world against you because Kansas hadn't lost a Big 12 game at home all year long until West Virginia got to them, and then you beat them 3 games in a row and then 10 run them in the finale. So, that obviously does wonders for your confidence, and that was the second series after West Virginia had lost that massive midweek game to Pitt. Gave up 20-plus runs in that loss, then dropped 2 or 3 against Cincinnati on the road, and that was a gut punch. So it was like, man, we may be trending the wrong direction here right as May turns over, but it went the complete opposite because you swept Kansas State, you swept Kansas, and just like that, West Virginia gets back on track, man. And you can fall back to those guys who've been in the program forever and the even keelness of most of the staff, most of the players, and that delivered you this.
So what have you learned about Cal Poly, or what did you already know and whatnot? And now kind of what has it led you to think about and expect when it comes to this series?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've got a really experienced coach who's been there forever out there. Really interesting regional because they didn't have to touch UCLA in the UCLA regional. I don't think anybody could have predicted this, but similar to West Virginia, they've got really good starting pitching, and then that's going to be a challenge. So haven't looked too deep into that, but California baseball teams know how to play ball, right? They're not unfamiliar with it.
So give me a little background on Armani Guzman, who had the base hit that won the game. What's his story? Anything unique in moments where he's come through before?
Yeah, absolutely. So he is a junior guy with plus speed. That's probably his best attribute, but he does everything well. You know, he didn't get much action freshman year. It's kind of like a classic college story where it's not like a guy didn't get what he wanted freshman year and hit the portal, stayed freshman year, put his work in, saw limited action in a sophomore campaign, had some injuries actually earlier that season, which got him some games. But then at the end of the season, you throw him in the lineup to kind of add that dynamic edge, and he turns out to be the player of the regional down in Clemson, which included a walk-off win against Kentucky in that first game for West Virginia at that regional. And then you met him again in the regional championship game, and he delivered the hit in the 8th inning, if I'm not mistaken, to put West Virginia up 13-12. So he had an amazing tournament, and that was his true emergence. So he goes into this year like definitely going to be a starting guy, definitely experienced, put the work in, and he's hanging around, having a really good season, almost 20 extra base hits. He's coming up actually on a single season steal record held by Victor Scott, who's now with the Cardinals. So he's a couple away from that. And no one was ever obsessing like, oh, why isn't Armani being able to play to that frankly unsustainable level that he had at the Clemson regional? But he's been having a good year, and then boom, he's ready for the moment. He said, in his post game that he has always wanted to be the man, and he was the man for West Virginia this series. I know Gavin was the tournament MVP, but Armani was also all tournament team and by far the best he's played.
Well, we mentioned last year they were so close to Omaha, but they've never been there before. How much does Coach Saban's mention how you look at this series, a best of 3, home or away? It's home, obviously, compared to how you enter a regional when you might play as many as 3 different teams?
Much easier, obviously, when it comes to the preparation and it's like a regular weekend, right? Win a series. That's all you got to do. And West Virginia's been really good at that all year. They've won very few Friday games in the Big 12. But they've come out to win series. Like despite that, they've only lost 2 Big 12 series on the year. So I think they're totally comfortable in the process Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know pitching is going to be a little messed up because, he had to play into Monday and pitching's messed up for everybody, right? That makes it into regionals and especially has to come out of the losers bracket. But yeah, I'm sure they're looking forward to that.
Thank you. Congratulations on the moment. I loved it. And like you said, you let the fans speak a lot of it and that's part of being a broadcaster, letting them be the atmosphere and tell the story. Have fun. Appreciate it. Tell your father we said hello and enjoy the weekend.
All right, will do. Thank you, guys.
Andrew Caridi, West Virginia baseball, voice of West Virginia baseball on the win last night. The atmosphere, and now Cal Poly is coming up this weekend in the Super Regionals. 8 different locations. If you look at a map, you have Lawrence, Kansas, and of course the heart of America. You have UT in Austin, which is almost due south. And then everybody else is clumped together, the other 6 regionals like Tuscaloosa and Auburn, Alabama, and Athens, Georgia. All of them are pretty much in the same vicinity or very close to each other as they host the 8 regional super regionals this weekend. All right, do we have any super chats? I don't think we do today. No super chats today. Let's hit and spin the wheel. Well, I can't. Okay, the super chat. Let's go to the super chat. Sorry. Retired stockbroker. I was talking about the annoyance of a fly. Mousetrap, fly swatter, or Smokey's hat. What's number 1? That's Craig's hat, not my hat.
No, you killed a tarantula with your hat or whatever it was you said yesterday.
I did,
so
yeah.
You're mistaken there.
Well, I've killed
kind
a
of like
few.
comparing broken glass to stained glass.
Well, that was a good comparison. You just had never seen it.
Yeah, it was my fault.
I've killed a few flies with a golf hat before, so it's pretty effective. But I don't think not a mouse. Fly swatter is amazing, as you mentioned, an incredible invention.
Yeah, I would say fly swatter is pretty damn effective, so I would go with that. But yeah, you killed a tarantula with a with your hat. So that was worth mentioning on there as well. Mousetrap, I don't have a lot of experience with that, thankfully. Hopefully never will have too much experience with that. But the fly swatter, that's a must-have, especially this time of year. And we've had some experience in the studios in years past with gnats and whatnot. Nothing worse trying to host a show than dealing with that, as we had to a couple years back. And so thankfully those are gone, and hopefully they stay away, or I will have to go find the trusty fly swatter.
Now we have to clarify the end of the show yesterday. PJ Worthen, a $4.99 super chat. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yesterday, Andrew, as a part of what we were doing, discussed, have you ever used a metal detector? We both said no. I wasn't lying, because he then explained it in a text to us or whatever it was. He was talking about the kind that you walk around the beach to find jewelry, nickels, dimes, whatever, metal on the beach. And I've never done that, but a friend of mine, Eric Horton, has acreage behind his factory outside of Tyler where there used to be a German POW camp. And we've been out there before with a detector and found bullets and weapons and things like that. So I have used that way a metal detector.
Well, yeah, that would have been from the U.S. side of things. Obviously, as a German POW camp, they wouldn't have had the weapons and the bullets. But yeah, there was one out there, Camp Tyler area, I believe.
Camp Fannin.
Or Camp Fannin,
yeah.
Camp
Just
Fannin.
north of Tyler, yeah.
But yeah, so I'm sure the U.S. soldiers left some stuff behind, and who knows what some of the Germans may have left behind. But yeah, it kind of changes the perception of the question, doesn't it? Have you ever used a metal detector?
No.
Nope, can't say that I have. Have you ever used a metal detector walking on the beach? Okay, that's a different question. The answer is still no. I'd be much more inclined to do the latter. I've seen plenty of people out there doing that, and I wouldn't mind burning a couple hours one afternoon doing that if I had the equipment to do so. So yeah, still no, but glad that there was more to that question, because I was very confused by just, have you used a metal detector? So I'm glad that he added something there at the end of that.
All right, so there we are. Let's go to the quizzes with Andrew Valade putting all of this together. Now the wheel. We got to go to the wheel first. Let's spin the wheel.
A hypothetical scenario where a solid NFL team plays every school in the Power Four, do you think they'd be able to easily go 68-0? This is sort of like the college football version of 100 men versus one gorilla. I don't think a college football team's beating an NFL team. I don't care if it's 0-1 Miami or whatever, 19 LSU or whoever you want to throw out there, all the Alabama teams, Georgia teams that have put a bunch of guys in the pros. A solid NFL team plays every school, and you're not even saying it's like the Browns. It's just a solid NFL. Yeah, the NFL team, I don't know about easily, because there could always be some scenario where your quarterback just plays like crap that day or something, but I'm going to say they're going 68-0.
It doesn't matter. The best ever college football teams, 0-1 Miami with all that NFL talent, 95 Nebraska, whoever. Saban's teams at Alabama, they're not going to beat an NFL
95
team.
Nebraska would get smoked by an NFL
I agree.
team.
No, I agree. It doesn't matter. Those were some of the greatest teams of all time. Not going to beat an NFL team.
I think
men among boys.
Joe Burrow could throw a touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson for the 19 LSU team. I think they can score, and there might even be a stretch where it's competitive. But again, it would take whoever the quarterback is for whatever NFL, him getting hurt to make it a game where you even have a chance to win the game ultimately. So yeah, I say it's 68-0, and I don't even hesitate saying that. And I understand the question, but I've seen some just not very bright people really, but no, man, it's no, dude, you don't get it. They're not beating an NFL team. They're not beating an NFL team. But
what are the things that the college athletics now allows players who are 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, everybody except for the younger rookies or whatever, they're grown-ass men, 35-year-old offensive linemen that have got bruises and bumps and aches and pains, that are grown-ass men playing on the offense and defensive line that would maul them in college. All right, so no, we both agree they would not easily, but they would go 68-0. All right, next question. And the quiz. On June 2nd, 1935, Babe Ruth retired from baseball. Though he wanted to keep playing, he joined the Boston Braves as being promised what future role that never happened?
I would say team manager, but I have no idea on here. Did they have GMs for baseball teams in 1935?
I don't know. I mean,
think that they did, but maybe they did. Maybe they did. I don't know.
It wouldn't be team manager because unless you're talking about, the team manages a team like a player coach, like Bill Russell in the NBA. These all have things that make sense. But if he was to keep playing, he wouldn't have time to be broadcasting.
Yeah, I've never heard a single thing about, and not that I'm the end-all be-all, but I just don't recall any conversation I've ever come across talking about Babe Ruth trying to be a broadcaster. The part owner thing, that seems much more like a today's athlete type of a thing. The GM, I don't know that it existed, and if it did, it was nothing like it is now to the point where it'd be that much importance. I think it's the manager of the team.
All right, let's go with team manager as the answer. It is. Seeking a path into leadership, 40-year-old Ruth joined the Braves under the impression he'd be named manager the next season. While that front office promise never came to fruition, hanging up his spikes on this date locked in an untouchable on-field legacy. Just a year later, the legendary slugger was immortalized as one of the elite first 5 inaugural charter members of baseball's Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, Ohio. Very nice. Very nice. I could have been tricked into overthinking that answer. Craig, thank you for keeping us on focus with team manager. Now let's get to the poll results. Hall of Fame coach Rick Adelman won over 1,000 games, helped pioneer the modern read and react offense. He holds the highest winning percentage in the history of which NBA franchise? He had some really good teams with Portland.
I mean, I think of the Kings personally when I think of Rick Adelman.
But winning percentage, Sacramento had a run there where they were very competitive.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, they were.
But I can't recall his time in Minnesota or Houston with much at all. And with the Trailblazers, like I don't know. I don't know on this, but I think
Kings was I first thought about the Kings because he was there for a franchise that has not had a lot of success. And winning percentage makes this a little bit more difficult. I'm going to say the Sacramento Kings.
All right, let's roll the dice on the Kings here. All right, bam, Trailblazers.
They went to back-to-back finals series. So, that was dumb on my part to just push right through that one.
Well, I mean, I'm the one that said the Kings to begin with.
Right.
So famously remembered for orchestrating the beauty. See, that's how you own that you're wrong. It's possible. You can do it, people.
No.
Famously remembered for orchestrating the beautiful, fast-paced passing offenses of the early 2000s Sacramento Kings. See, that's what I recall. Adelman achieved his highest franchise success in the Pacific Northwest. He holds a spectacular .654 winning percentage with the Trailblazers, leading Clyde Drexler and company to 2 NBA Finals appearances in 90 and 92. And I don't. That's like I was not even 10 years old yet, and so I don't even think of him and those Trailblazers. I remember Clyde Drexler, and that's about all I remember from those Trailblazers teams. That's about the extent of my early 90s Portland knowledge. So I need to now, thinking about them whenever that occurs, also include Rick Adelman in there. But that makes a lot of sense, and having made a couple finals, that's an obvious answer.
All right, so we went 1-1, still in a tremendous run. And now let's get to the poll results from our viewership. Who won the Myles Garrett, Jared Verse blockbuster trade? 50% say the Rams. Went all in perfectly. Fair deal for both, and the Browns got an absolute haul. Only 14% said that.
Well, I think I would go with fair deal. Both teams win, but I don't think there's a wrong thing here because I do think the Browns got an absolute haul. It'd be one thing to just get Jared Verse an A pick or 2 picks, but they got 3 picks, and they're all first, second, fourth picks. They're not random 6th in 10 years or whatever. So I think it's one of those deals where it's not the popular answer, but both teams won here. I think we'll see in the next 2 to 3 years who really truly won that trade. And based on how they've been ran their entire histories, the Rams will probably win this trade when all is said. They'll probably turn this into another Super Bowl appearance at minimum and maybe even a Super Bowl win, whereas the Browns, who the hell knows what they turned it into. But, yeah, I think I'm more fair deal both teams win than anything else here.
Cleveland had 2 first-round picks this year. Now they have the what they get for trading Myles Garrett.
And in Cleveland with multiple first-round picks based on, again, their history. I'd hate to be a Brown fan watching the show today because I am taking some shots at them, but they're all deserved. And I think a Browns fan will understand that. But we're talking about a team that wasted first-round picks on Brandon Weeden and oh, gosh. I mean, just so many others over the years. So, yeah, if they can ever hit on those picks, Johnny Manziel was a first-round pick. Yeah, if they can, Corey Coleman, just a long list of guys who didn't make it. But yeah, if they can ever have the right people in place to make the right decisions with those picks, then yeah, I think that they've got a great opportunity to build something with what they got in return there.
I think it's good to say both came away pretty good as the 36%, but the 50% say the Rams, who are going all in with Matthew Stafford on the clock.
I mean, they're the ones that are going to win the Super Bowl off this trade. Cleveland won't based on this, but the Rams very well might.
Yep, absolutely. And then finally, another poll question to wrap it up. I could not really, this froze my brain. Which physical music format is or was your favorite?
CDs. I have a few in my car actually right now that I occasionally put on. What did I most listen to recently? I think it was Nirvana, their MTV Unplugged album. Loved that show and that whole set that they did of some of their hits, not all of them. Like they didn't do Smells Like Teen Spirit because they didn't really fit the Unplugged atmosphere, but then they did some covers from some of their other favorite bands and from like David Bowie and stuff. It's just an excellent record from Nirvana that I listened to quite a bit. But yeah, CDs, I go with those, just the easiest to handle. The cassettes with the whole rewinding and fast forwarding things, just a pain in the ass. The 8-track, I don't have any experience, nor do I care if I ever have any experience at this point with that. And then the vinyl records, I get the fandom for those and the quality, but I've never like nerded out or gotten real into that hobby myself. So I'll go with CDs.
No, I struggle with this because there's a part of me that during my broadcast career early on, cassette tapes is how I did all the interviews. And then you would have the little recorder and you push it, put it on pause. CDs are the best of this group, no question. Vinyl records are very much reflecting and reminiscing about history. I remember my mom, she used to have a bunch of them. But the other day I was at, I guess it was Walmart or where it was, and I went back to the area where they have records and all that, cell phones, and I almost bought a couple of vinyl records just because. Just to what the hell, I have a couple of them somewhere on a bookshelf.
Do you have a record player?
No. There's no reasons for that. 8-track.
there is if you have records to play.
8 tracks were bulky, but they weren't bad either. But it was hard for me to always fast from one track to the other. I was always difficult. Cassettes were a nightmare, though. That's the way I used to do anything early in the 90s.
No, cassettes sucked.
That's how you also had to like stick it, reel to reel. The audio, it was bad, tough. Thank God for what we have now with Adobe Audition and ways to do it digitally. All right. Thank you, Andrew Valet. Great job. Logan Bagessi and also Houston was here as always, along with Garrett Ross and Rez, the Michelangelo of producing Flores. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you. We're back again tomorrow at 3. Hey, Tim Brando's one of our guests tomorrow. A couple of other really good guests. Mark Schipper will join us too. This is for Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. The Smoke Show on 365 Sports.